you're in.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sound Summit October 2020, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you. I'm here with the two founders of Sound Summit. We have John Tatules from Sound Devices, Karl Winkler from Lectrosonics. Good morning, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Can
So
you guys
this is
tell us
pretty
a little
fun.
bit about Sound Summit? This is very fun.
Sure. Well, I'll start. This came about in 2014. I think it might have been at the NAB show. Eric Mayer, an old friend and colleague of mine who was working at DPA at the time, approached me about doing an event that we would bring to various cities rather than a trade show that everyone came to. So I give him a lot of credit for the idea. The two of us worked it up. We wanted Sound Devices in, so we invited them as the original Three Musketeers, I guess, Sound Devices, Lectrosonics, and DPA. And we held the first event at the Sportsman's Lodge in LA in the fall of 2014, just before the AES show. The idea being that, hey, we're going to go to LA, do the Sound Summit, and then the next couple days do the AES show, which was at the Los Angeles Convention Center that year. So that's how it kicked off. We had a wonderful attendance at that show. I think about 150 people came through.
Yeah, that's
It
big.
was just a handful of manufacturers, and all these people came in. We did short presentations, and we had tables full of gear. And it was just a blast. I don't remember how long it went, but it seemed to go into the evening.
As
We
all
and
good
then
events do.
what other cities have we done, Karl? I think you've got them all listed.
Yeah, so after that, we did Chicago, we did New York, we did Atlanta, we did Toronto, Seattle, LA again, and Orlando. So we hit a bunch of the major cities, with production centers was the idea, and covered a lot of ground. I think the last one we did is actually Seattle in the fall of 2017.
Yeah. And then with the Sound Summit online, this was a conversation again with Karl and me. We decided that, in absence of NAB this year, we like talking about gear. So let's talk gear and let's put it live and let's move what was Sound Summit, this in-person presentation, out to the web. And so we kind of cobbled it together, figured it out, and here we are for a second round, unfortunately.
Well, John, I got to give you the credit for the idea of doing the virtual one and doing all the heavy lifting, both for the previous one at the end of April and May 1st, and now this one. I know you've done a ton of stuff in the background, scheduling it and getting everyone together. So thanks for, coming up with a modern way to approach this event. And, in the old times with the live ones, we would have 40, 50 people, maybe up to 150 for the LA one. But for this one, we're reaching the whole world, and we're bringing it to people's desktops and phones even, I guess. So it's a wonderful idea. So thank you.
Indeed.
Yeah,
Like I
thank
said,
you
we
very
should
much.
probably start our presentations, huh?
That sounds very fun
Sounds
to me.
good.
I think we have Gary Trenda from AD Systems up first, explaining RF spectrum basics.
Hi,
Cue
good
the
morning,
video.
everybody.
Good
Morning, Gary.
How's
Good
everybody
morning,
doing?
Gary.
All right. So you get to start with a PowerPoint today. Isn't that exciting? Let me
Yeah.
share that up to everybody. All right. Is that working okay for you guys?
Looks good.
Looks
All right.
good. Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks for having me. Thanks everybody for tuning in to the Sound Summit, October 2020. I know we're going to be talking quite a bit about various wireless products over the course of the next 2 days. So I get to give you a little bit of an intro into some RF spectrum basics. I know we've got some folks on here with a real depth of experience in RF and some folks who maybe are a little bit newer to it. So we're going to try and give you just a brief overview of stuff you might want to know if you're operating wireless audio devices, wireless mics, and IFBs, IEMs, intercoms, that sort of thing. We got a little bit about me if you want to know how I got into this crazy business. I started out as an audio guy, like I think a lot of folks have, and I was a system tech setting up sound for concert PA, and I got a job with Cirque du Soleil as their first audio RF technician, and then all of a sudden I was running wireless mics and ears and doing these crazy themed entertainment shows, and I've just kind of continued doing RF audio since. And my day-to-day now is a lot of both audio RF mics and ears, some RF intercom. Some events I do, I'm just the frequency coordinator. So we'll have literally hundreds of wireless frequencies, and we're trying to make sure everybody's got their own lane to get some reliable operation with their different wireless systems. So basically what we're going to talk about today is if you're going to deploy a wireless system at one of your events, what do you need to be thinking about? What goes into your pre-production? What do you want to know about your local RF environment? Talk a little bit about RF spectrum and where are these devices operating. For most folks, your UHF TV band is still one of your most common places to operate a wireless device. We're going to talk a bit about the 600 megahertz auction that's happened in the US. There's discussion of that band being auctioned off other parts of the world, although that hasn't happened yet to my knowledge, but it's something for everybody to kind of be aware of what's happened just with spectrum changes. T-band channels, which is another thing in the United States, other operators that you'll see within the UHF TV band. General band planning, some frequency coordination, and then some FCC rules, and we'll have a little time at the end for Q&A. So let's get started with pre-production. So if you're going to do an event, you're shooting a commercial, a TV show, you're getting involved in a film, or maybe you're like me and you end up doing some music award shows or different themed events. Who's involved with the event and what kind of RF equipment do you need? A lot of times, I'll be bringing in anything from wireless mics to ears and a large intercom system maybe for production where I'm getting geared up right now to do a music award show. We're going to have over 60 people on wireless intercom for the production, and we're going to deploy that across multiple stages throughout different venues, and we're going to link that all together. And so there's a lot to kind of plan for. What equipment do I need to bring, and how much time do I need to set it all up? Where do I need to put my antennas, and how am I going to cover the different areas we're going to be? Who else is there already? Is there somebody I need to contact locally to talk about? Is the venue I'm going into going to already have some wireless equipment that I might need to avoid? Is there a production manager or tech manager I need to get in touch with? Maybe there's a rental provider that I'm getting some additional gear from, and I've got to plan out which frequency bands do I need to specify for the gear that I'm bringing in, and then what frequency ranges do I want to spec for that? So first thing, which isn't always possible, but the first thing I like to recommend to people about understanding their local RF environment is, am I able to do a site survey? Am I able to go there and take some sort of an RF scan before I do my event? Because getting a picture of the RF environment, exactly where you're going to set up your equipment, is still obviously the best option. There's some online tools that will give you the ability to scan local TV, things like that, or get scan data from someone else who has been to the location that you're going to be setting up in. So if you can't go to site, one of the things I like to recommend to folks is trying to find some scan data. I've got some websites listed here that are great online resources for sharing scans, and I like to encourage folks who are doing a lot of wireless setup, if they're able to, upload some scans to these folks, or go there and look for a scan if you're not able to do a site survey ahead of time. Maybe somebody that's been in that location or been in that venue before, and you can check with them and see what it's like. As a lot of over the last few years, we've had a number of changes in our RF environment in the United States where TV channels have been moving around and repacking, and so I think this has been more important than ever to try and get current data from the areas that we're going to set up our events. And when you get to do your site survey, what can you use to scan your local environment? I mean, ideally, you'll have something like a spectrum analyzer, which can help you visualize the RF environment. It gives you an actual, kind of visual look of what these radio frequencies are that we're transmitting. If you don't have a spectrum analyzer, a lot of times the equipment that you're using, if you've got your Lectrosonics receiver has an ability to scan the frequency range that it can tune to. So even when you get to site, doing a quick scan and seeing what the local RF environment looks like is going to be real helpful. And ultimately, we're trying to decide who else is broadcasting in proximity to my location. We're going to talk a bit about DTV as being a main thing you're trying to avoid, but there's always other wireless devices that might be broadcasting there. All right, so real briefly, we're obviously talking about wireless equipment. So we're broadcasting some sort of a RF signal, a radio frequency signal. So here's your super basic first day of physics, what's a radio wave? The thing I want to drive home with people with this is that these radio waves have a specific wavelength. And so here we're given a couple examples of the UHF-TV band, where the lower end of the UHF-TV band in the United States is 470 megahertz. So that's roughly 2 feet, or about 0.68 meters. And then the upper end is 616 megahertz. That's roughly 1.6 feet. So you might hear people talk about half wave or quarter wave antennas for these different wireless devices. And so you want to think about, well, the reason a half wave antenna at 470 meg is about a foot is based on this sort of simple math of the size of that wavelength. An antenna tuning becomes important. And so you'll know with a lot of your gear that you'll need different size antennas for different frequencies that you're tuning to. Here's this giant chart that the Department of Commerce tends to put out every 4 years to show, so that just shows us all of the different frequency allocations in the US. And this is really just meant to drive home the point that there's a ton of different users of wireless frequencies all across the spectrum. I think this chart starts down in the real low kilohertz range and goes up to 300 gigahertz. And I'm just highlighting a couple of these areas. We're zooming in here on our core TV bands. And in the US, we basically got a low VHF, a high VHF, and a UHF TV band. But as you look in here where it'll say broadcasting television, that's still a very small part of this overall spectrum that we're fitting in with. So what's some common spectrum for wireless devices? Again, I'm based in the United States, so this is going to be US spectrum, but this is somewhat common across other countries. Anyway, we're giving you an overview of your low VHF and then your high VHF. UHF TV is what we're going to talk about the most, 470 to 608. But then there's some changes that have been happening with the 600 megahertz band, where there's still a couple of slivers of that that are allowed to operate wireless devices in. So that gives you an example of what's left for 600 meg. And because a lot of 600 meg in the United States has now been auctioned off for other uses, you'll see people thinking about alternate frequency bands where maybe you didn't before. So there is an unlicensed ISM band. There's a number of ISM bands, but the 902 to 928, a lot of people call the 900 meg ISM band, is more common now. We've seen devices in there. We've got expanded use of the studio transmitter link, or STL, and microwave band. That is now 941.5 to 960 with a couple of stops in service there for other devices. I'd like to highlight that frequency range is for Part 74 licensed use only, and we'll talk a little bit about Part 74 licensing in a little bit. AvTrack band is something that has now been opened up for a little more broad use by wireless devices, and I think in the coming years you'll probably see more wireless audio devices there, microphones and such. DECT band, a lot of you know, has become more common for wireless intercom systems. And there are some microphones that operate there as well from folks like, I know Shure makes a DECT band microphone system. And then there's some devices that operate up in 2.4 gig, which you'll see commonly used for Wi-Fi, but there's other devices that operate there. There's wireless intercom systems and wireless microphone systems in the 2.4 gig ISM band as well. So I wanted to just talk a little bit, and I think most folks in the US are aware of this now, but the area above 616 megahertz up to 698 has been auctioned off. T-Mobile is a big winner of that auction. So there's cellular services that are operating there in these various up and downlink bands. So this gives you a good visual of what's happening there. And as we talk about the areas that are now available for operating wireless devices, you've got a little sliver of 2 megahertz that's just above TV37 before we start into your downlink A block there. We've got a little sliver in what they will call the duplex gap, which is your gap between the up and down link. That is a total of 10 megahertz that's available for wireless devices. 4 megahertz of that is reserved for licensed systems. And when we're saying licensed systems here for US operations, we're talking about a Part 74 license. And then another 6 meg of that is available for unlicensed systems. and white space devices. Another thing to talk about and who else is operating in the area that I'm operating in with my wireless devices is T-band radio. These are commonly public safety, like two-way radios. It could also be two-way radios that have a special temporary authorization. But they're two-way radios that can be high power. I mean, some of these handsets are a 2-watt transmit. Some of the base stations can be 10 watts to 100 watts. There's going to be repeaters set up in there. So they're pretty high power compared to what we're doing with wireless microphones. And it varies by market, but I've got a list of the major cities in the US that use T-band public safety radio and what specific TV channels they're operating on. One thing to think about with this is that T-band radios can be intermittent, right? It's a two-way radio, so it's only transmitting when somebody's actually keyed up their radio. So you just want to make sure as you're putting together a frequency coordination when you're going to a new site that you've got those TV channels just blocked off in your coordination. Which kind of leads us into the idea of RF band planning. Like if I'm going to deploy a set of wireless mics for an event, where can I place them and where can they go in with all of the other devices that I've got set up? So here's a scan from a spectrum analyzer. And if you've seen one of these before, you kind of know the telltale signs of some digital television and some constant transmit devices that are shown in this scan. And so if I know where these television stations are, I know I need to avoid them. Where do I put everything else? Well, a lot of times it's a good idea if you can to group your microphones together, your IFBs together, your intercoms, and give them each their own separate slice of spectrum to operate in. And so this is just sort of a sample RF band plan. If I was setting up a large event at this location, where might I want to place these different devices? And how do I separate them from each other and avoid any local interference? Talked a little bit before about FCC rules. FCC, Federal Communications Commission, the folks that govern the use of wireless devices in the US. So Part 15 devices are your unlicensed devices, and they're allowed to operate a number of different areas. For the purposes of our discussion, we're saying UHF-TV band. Any device operating under Part 15 rules, you can transmit up to 50 milliwatts. And so I know a lot of you guys are using devices that operate beyond 50 milliwatts up to maybe 250 milliwatts. So if you want to operate above 50 milliwatts in the UHF-TV band, then you need to have a Part 74 license, which is the license you can get from the FCC that gives you a lot of advantages, including being able to operate devices with higher transmit power. We talked a little bit before, it was listed in our overview about what your maximum transmit powers are in some of these alternate bands that we're able to operate in now, like the guard band and duplex gap. Those are mainly 20 milliwatt maximum, and you're going to see a lot of the newer digital devices being limited to 20 milliwatts in that range because of those rules. A big deal about a Part 74 license is it does allow you to operate indoors on a TV channel as long as that TV channel is below negative 84 dBm on your spectrum analyzer. So that's something that I'm seeing a lot of the events that I'm doing, where if we're trying to put in hundreds of wireless frequencies, we're operating on top of DTV if we're indoors. And essentially that DTV channel is such a low level within the facility that we're able to put a wireless microphone or other wireless device on that channel and operate reliably. And then white space devices are something that is still sort of out there. I know folks made a bigger deal about it back when they first came on the market, but they haven't seen wide use. But there's still folks like Microsoft and other companies that are excited about using this white space spectrum for stuff like rural broadband. And so it's a thing that, you know, if you're a wireless geek like me, we're keeping an eye on what's happening with white space devices and just try to make sure that we've still got some protection from those devices if they do start to see more widespread use. One thing we like to note here is licensed operators are a secondary user to any licensed broadcaster like a TV station or the T-band public safety radios, other primary operators. And so you're kind of still operating in the gaps between their transmissions. And it's helpful to think about that as you're visualizing where am I operating my wireless devices when you think about who else is there. I mean, you're trying to avoid sometimes, you know, 100 kilowatt TV station or a 100 watt repeater radio that's definitely going to win if you try to fight them with your 250 milliwatt radio. We'll skip through this pretty quickly, but a lot of people are like, what do you talk about Part 74? What does this even mean? Well, in the US, we've got the Code of Federal Regulations. Chapter I is the Federal Communications Commission, and they've got all of these different rules. Subchapter C is broadcast radio services, and then that gets us down to Part 74, which is covering our auxiliary and other program distribution services. So low power auxiliary stations are really what we're talking about with a Part 74 license. It's Part 74H. And so a lot of the folks watching this today are going to know that they're eligible to get a Part 74 license because a lot of you folks are involved in motion picture production, television production. Maybe you're an owner of a sound company that operates a lot of wireless channels. In this case, we're talking about routinely 50 or more wireless channels. Why should you get it? As we talked about before, you can transmit at higher power levels. You can use equipment that is certified under Part 74 rather than equipment that's certified for Part 15 operation. You can use these additional bands that other people don't have access to. So there's a lot of advantages if you're doing a more complicated production where you need to use more spectrum or you need just longer range. I definitely encourage folks to kind of think about licensing and think about these FCC rules. I know it's a little bit dry thinking about all the rules that govern where we can operate these devices, but it's important to kind of be a good RF citizen and know where we can operate. And really, ultimately, the more you know about the RF spectrum, the more reliably you can get your system to operate. And that's, I think, good for everybody involved with this. Okay. Real briefly, frequency coordination. A lot of people use software to coordinate the wireless frequencies that they're setting up their events. This gives you a brief overview of what are we talking about when we're saying about frequency coordination and intermodulation. Why do I care about intermodulation? Well, if I have more than one transmitter, I'm going to have the potential to create intermod products. And this shows you how two transmitters here, if you move them closer together, you can get some mixing of the two signals, and you can get these intermod products, which are essentially weaker signals, but they exist. And so this could be seen as interference to another microphone. So let's say I'm going to set up two transmitters at 500 and 501 megahertz. And so I'm seeing these intermod products of 499 and 502. So really what that tells me is I don't want to put other microphones at 499 and 502, because if my first two transmitters at 500 and 501 get close to each other, I could be causing interference to my other microphones that I've set up. And the software just automates all this for you. So the software is going to calculate your intermod products and avoid them for you. So what software do I want to use for this? There's a lot of good pieces of software out there that'll do intermod calculations and aid you in your frequency coordination. A lot of the major manufacturers have software to do this. Lectrosonics Wireless Designer is something I imagine a lot of folks here have used. PWS has a software called Intermodulation Analysis System that you see used on a lot of larger events. Shure's got their wireless workbench software. If you're doing this on your smartphone or Android or iOS device, Freak Finder is something that a lot of people use, and there's a few other Android and iOS device software I've seen out there. But if you're doing any larger channel count with your wireless deployments, I really just encourage folks to find some intermod calculation and frequency coordination software that they like and try that out, because it really helps to both give you a visual of looking at your scans and seeing what's in your local environment, and then giving you a visual of where you're placing your microphones and try to find some open free spectrum. So I know that's kind of a lot of ground to cover, but I just wanted to pause here and see if we got some questions from folks of what we've gone through, and what are you seeing with the wireless device deployments now, and what are you wondering about?
That was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thanks.
That's great. We do have a couple questions all ready for you. Our first question is from Ken Goodwin. He's asking me, Please ask Gary, how can we calibrate a handheld spectrum analyzer? He says his is acting up.
Okay. Well, it depends a lot on what kind of handheld spectrum analyzer he's got. What I will typically do with when I get out my spectrum analyzer, turn it on with no antenna plugged in. Am I seeing just the noise floor that I'm expecting in the spectrum that I'm looking at? And then plug an antenna in. I tend to start with a simple whip antenna. Make sure I'm at least seeing my microphone that I've got turned on, if I've got one of my transmitters turned on, or see local TV channels that I expect to be there in the area. If you're not seeing your local TV, or you're not seeing your microphone transmitter when you've got it turned on with just a simple whip antenna plugged into your analyzer, then at that point I'd probably contact the manufacturer and find out if there's something that you can do to go through a calibration procedure, maybe send it into them for service, because you're not getting the display on it that you are expecting.
Great. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Courtney Gooden. She's asking, will the transition to ATSC3 change the spectrum available to RF mics in the near future?
Yes, it doesn't seem so. The folks at NAB are talking about ATSC3 using their existing UHF TV spectrum primarily. We'll see once that starts rolling out. But the broadcasters have their licenses for specific, at least in the US, TV channels are 6 megahertz chunks. And so that's right now ATSC2 transmissions, and that is transitioning potentially to ATSC3 once they get all that sorted out. But I think we're going to have several years of transition to doing those sorts of ATSC3 services.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow, the questions keep flying in here. The next one is from WhiskeyCast. They're asking,
like the username.
It's a good username, right?
Yeah.
They're asking, how much interference can those who use wireless mics in the 2.4 gigahertz range expect from Wi-Fi or microwave ovens? He says, they say, I know those rigs are cheaper than Lectrosonics gear, but not all of us can afford Lectrosonics.
Sure. Yeah. It does depend a little bit on your wireless microphone, but it depends a lot more on the Wi-Fi in the venue that you're operating in. So I do a lot of stuff in stadiums and arenas where they've got an in-house Wi-Fi system that they've blanketed the entire arena with Wi-Fi antennas all over the place, so that if you've got 80,000 people in the arena, they can all connect their smartphones to Wi-Fi.
Oh boy.
And so in an area like that, you're going to have a lot higher level of Wi-Fi or 2.4 gig signal than somewhere else. So really, same thing. Do your scans and see what the local Wi-Fi network's doing, what kind of power levels you're seeing with the local Wi-Fi network. And if you've only, if you're operating in an area, like if I set up in my house where I've just got my local, my router, and I'm, not in an apartment building with all sorts of other routers in here, it's going to be a very different 2.4 gig environment than if I'm setting up in an arena that's got a stadium Wi-Fi system. So trust your scans, look at what your background level is, and try and figure out if you can operate your system reliably, or if you maybe need to think about something other than a 2.4 gig spectrum device.
Absolutely. And Gary, can I ask you to turn off your screen share so we can go back to the full view here before we proceed a little more? Thank you.
For sure.
And I'll say, in my experience using 2.4 gigahertz on set, there have been times where there's been some interference with some of the camera elements, like wireless follow focus, things like that. So, I think you're right, Gary. You really just have to check, and it depends on the location entirely.
Yeah, and there's some streaming video systems that'll operate in 2.4 gig or in the 5 gig ISM band, where you've got 5 gig Wi-Fi. And so understanding what other devices are there is really helpful.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. We have another question here. This is from, I'm going to say this wrong, Jonu Kilis. Beautiful name. I'm very sorry for butchering it. So this person is asking, the lower the frequency is, the better it goes through objects or overall performance. Is lower hang on, this is weird, worded a little strangely. So they're asking, if the lower your frequency is, does that make it better going through objects for overall performance, or the lower the frequency, the better, or does it not matter?
Right. It does matter.
Okay.
Generally speaking, a lower frequency we talked about wavelength and size of these RF waves initially. So think about that, where a lower frequency can go around smaller objects more easily, or can, go penetrate through walls and things sometimes better. So that's why like a UHF TV band device in maybe 500 megahertz, generally speaking, it tends to have a better range than a 2.4 gigahertz device with maybe the same power level. Higher frequency, I just tend to think about it as being more line of sight. I mean, anytime you're setting up these wireless systems, your best case scenario is to have line of sight between your antenna and your transmit antenna and your receive antenna. And that's just more true with higher frequency transmissions.
Cool. We have another camera. Reading the word camera. We have another question here. It's still early in California, guys.
Yeah.
I'm on my first cup of coffee still. From Mike Hurst. He's asking, as lighting units with wireless RF options are becoming more popular with DPs, what do you recommend for RF coordination between sound and camera?
Yeah, I think your general frequency coordination rules still apply. Like, you want to understand, I sometimes tell people, think about it like a multi-lane highway where everybody needs their own lane to operate, right? You got to be driving in your own lane. So if you've got a lighting system that has a specific frequency range, you need to make sure that your audio devices are in a different frequency range than that, so they're not colliding with each other.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Gary. I think that was our last question.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to keep it moving here. Our next presenter is Karl from Lectrosonics. Karl, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Hello again. Take
Hello.
it away.
I want to say one thing is Gary Trenda is full of knowledge, and I always enjoy being on a panel with him and having discussions about all this stuff. So I appreciate the knowledge that he brought to his presentation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was one question that looked like someone asked about an antenna. This is Vin from India. Hi, Vin. He says, what's the difference between a receive antenna and a transmit antenna in terms of specifications? And if you're talking passive antennas, they're exactly equal. You can definitely use a passive antenna for transmit or receive, with the same kind of receiver covering the same frequency band and things like that. When you get into active antennas, that's where it's a little bit different, where active antennas are really a one-way device. So something where you can't turn off the active part, you cannot use it as a transmit antenna, only as a receive antenna. Some antennas like our ALP690 have the option to turn off the amplifier just by turning off the bias, and then it can be used for transmit or receive. But when it's active, it's receive only. So I hope that answers your question, Ben.
Very cool. Thank you for answering that last question.
Sure thing. Okay. Well, what we have up next is the DCHR. That's our new little dual channel digital receiver. It's stereo or mono, single carrier receiver that can pick up stereo signals from like a DCHT or an M2T, or a mono transmitter like from a DPR, DBU, and so on, all in the digital domain. So let's roll that video, and then we'll open up for Q&A after that. Hi, Karl Winkler here at Lectrosonics. In this video, I'll show you the DCHR miniature digital receiver. Like all our portable receivers, this little thing packs a punch. We designed it to handle stereo transmissions, either encrypted or unencrypted, like from an M2T or a DCHT. But the DCHR is also fully compatible with mono transmitters from our D² line, like the DBU, the DHU, and the DPR. In other words, the DCHR is a miniature AA or externally powered receiver for camera hop or straight camera mounted use, either with mono or stereo digital transmitters. So let's start by looking at the outside. Physically, the unit is most similar to the digital hybrid LR receiver, although the DCHR is a little slimmer and lighter. It has the same display as the LR and a similar keypad. On the top panel, we have the removable SMA mount antennas and the TA5M locking audio output with either two balanced analog signals or a single digital AES3 pair, selectable in the menu. We have several cables ready to go with different connectors for the various devices used with this receiver. Here's the IR sync window for quickly setting up the associated transmitter or for sharing encryption keys. And for confidence monitoring, it's got a 3.5mm stereo headphone jack. Headphone volume can be set in the menu, or when the display is on the home screen, just pressing the up and down arrows will change the level. Like the DCHT, DBU, and LT transmitters, the DCHR can use the optional LT battle limb for external DC power. On the other side of the case is the USB jack for firmware updates. The DCHR uses the same wire belt clip as the DCHT and LR, so it can be cold shoe mounted on cameras using the LR shoe accessory. Alright, let's get a closer look at the keypad, the home screen, and the menus. The 5-button keypad is nearly identical to the one in the LR. Menu select, back, power, and the up and down arrow buttons. At the upper left is the RF link light, if lit indicating a recognized RF signal. At the upper right is the power battery LED, which runs green until the batteries are about 2/3 depleted, then turns red. When about 10% of the battery life remains, the red LED will blink. Here in the home screen, along the top, we see the operating frequency, the antenna diversity state, and the battery levels of the receiver and transmitter. Just under the operating frequency, we see the channel name, which can be edited in the menu. Below that, we see an RF strip chart showing about 6 seconds of history, a lot like what's in our DSQD receiver and Wireless Designer software monitoring screens. This can be a handy feature for troubleshooting. Then to the bottom right are the audio modulation meters. And, as I mentioned earlier, from the home screen, pressing the up and down arrows adjusts the headphone volume. Let's get into the menus. First up, we see the RF setup, and if we press the menu select button again, we can manually set the operating frequency, use SmartTune for automatic frequency selection, or scan the local RF and choose our own frequency that way. The group setup lets us manage frequency groups, which can then be transferred over infrared to other devices that have the group tune function. Next in the main menu is audio setup, starting with output level, allowing us to adjust from +5 dBu down to -50 in 1 dB steps. We can also send a 1K tone to the next device in the chain, like a camera or recorder, to calibrate levels exactly. Compatibility modes let us choose between Duet unencrypted, DCHX encrypted, and D² digital transmission modes. Output type gives us analog or AES3, and the audio polarity allows us to invert the signal if need be. The sync and encryption menu allows us to send the operating frequency over infrared, send all settings, get the frequency from a transmitter, or get all settings. The key type selection allows us to choose between the universal key, common to all our encrypted units, the shared key, which is handy when you need more than one receiver to have the key, the standard mode, which is highly secure, only allowing one receiver to have the key, or volatile, the most secure of all. This is the one-time use type of key. If a transmitter loses power, it needs to be resynced. If the receiver loses power, a new key must be generated. Then, if you're in any key management mode other than universal, you'll see the make key, wipe key, and send key functions. For a fuller explanation of the different types of key management policies, check out my video on the D² encryption choice and setup. The Tools and Settings menu offer the lock-unlock function, allowing you to prevent changes to the unit via the front panel, the transmitter battery type and display, the receiver battery type and display. The display itself can be reversed or normal, or the display backlight timeout can be chosen as well. You can also edit the name of the receiver and the transmitter. The locale function relates to how much of the DCHR's frequency bandwidth will show in a scan or when using SmartTune. The North American setting does not allow TV37 between 608 and 614 MHz to be used. With the EU setting, these frequencies can be used. This will match the available tuning ranges in the transmitters sold in these different regions. The About screen shows you the unit's currently loaded firmware versions. Then finally, the unit can be returned to factory default settings. Okay, let's do a quick setup using the DCHT transmitter. I'm going to use the SmartTune function to choose the best frequency for this location. Look how quickly it does the scan. Once it's done, it presents us with the option to use the IR sync to set the transmitter. Hold the infrared windows close to each other and fire away. Once that's done, I'll turn on my DCHT transmission and we're good to go. The RF link light came on, there is RF activity in the meter, and we can see audio modulation. Another method would be to manually enter a frequency from a list or do an RF scan and then tune the receiver manually. As you can see, this little receiver is a flexible and powerful tool for a wide variety of applications, for camera hop use, for small cameras, or even for the bag. The powerful encryption can be used with 4 different key policies depending on the application, and setup is extremely quick and easy. For more information, check out the product details at lectrosonics.com. I'm Karl Winkler. Thanks for watching.
All right, and we are back, joined now again by Karl from Lectrosonics.
Yes, thanks, Kim. So, as you can see, this thing's got a lot of cool stuff in it. The DCHR, it's really purpose designed as a camera hop transmitter, but also as a small single channel receiver, like for small cameras to pick up digital transmitters. I wanted to cover a couple of the common questions that have come up, and then there's some from the people who've watched the video. And so one is, are the outputs protected from phantom power if this thing's going to be connected to cameras? And the answer is yes, both for the TA output, the locking output, and for the headphone output. People have asked us about battery life, and we don't recommend alkalines. These units are fairly current hungry, and alkalines don't hold up well in that. But for nickel metal hydrides, these will run about 4 to 5 hours, and for lithium dry cells, 7 to 8 hours. And then there's a couple questions that have come in since the video's been running. One of them is there a recording option for the DCHR? The answer is no. We'd love to put more features in this thing, but for this size and what it does and being self-powered by a couple AA's, this is about all we could fit in there. But they asked about an outboard recorder that could be paired with it, and that I would say is the SPDR, as someone else did already answer. And the reason for that choice is that the SPDR has AES inputs and can handle 2 channels of audio, so it's a good match. And it's about the same size, actually. So those 2 units together could make an ultra compact, standalone little recording system for a couple channels of audio. Are there any other questions that have come up?
Let's see, we have a few questions coming in here. What is the list price for this item?
List price, let's see. I'll have to look that up. I believe it's 2,700 something, and that's of course not street price, but yeah.
Very cool.
I think street price comes in just under 2,000.
Awesome. It seems like a great product. And when will that be released?
It's been announced, and we're finishing up the first production runs, so we hope they'll be out within a few weeks. Hard to pin that down exactly, but yeah, it's getting real close to that one, and getting orders for it already, which is exciting to see. So yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Karl. I'm just checking here. I think we have one more question from Rick Alexander.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hey, Rick.
Hi, Rick. Does the DCHR have a battery eliminator for taping on the camera power for hops?
Yes, great question, and yes, it does. That's the LT BAT-elim that you would use for your LT transmitter, your DBU, your DCHT, and now your DCHR. Just a quick note is that the LR BAT-elim is not the correct one, because the LR and the DCHT are different thicknesses, or excuse me, DCHR. So as you can see here, we've got different thicknesses, so the LR BAT-elim will not work on the DCHR. Then one final note related to all that, to mount on your small cameras, the LR shoe is the correct accessory to mount the DCHR. So that's available, lightweight and inexpensive as well. So we're ready for any sort of mounting and external powering. And we've got a bunch of connecting cables as well. It's got a TA5 output, which allows for 2 analog channels out, or an AES digital pair out as well. So we've got cables that have XLRs on them, pigtails, TA3s. It's all in the new price list. It's in the catalog. And by the way, who knew that the catalog cover we designed earlier in the year would be so appropriate now?
You're telling me. That's beautiful.
Oh, I can't hear you now for some reason.
Oh, let's see. Can you hear me now?
Plug my USB.
That's okay. Well, that was a great presentation. I'm really excited about this product. I know Karl can't hear me, but let's see. How about now, Karl?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Wonderful. I was just saying I'm very excited for this to hit the market. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Kim. All right. Good seeing
All
you.
right.
All
So
right.
we're moving on next to Viviana straps. We have a presentation from Viviana. Let's play that video.
Hi guys, we are working hard on the Viviana Cloud application and I would like to show you our progress. Once you plug Viviana Cloud device into your recorder, you will be able, thanks to Viviana Cloud application, to browse the disk of your recorder, select the main folder, then daily. Then, if you have to modify some metadata before uploading the file, as you can see, you can easily do it. For example, you can change the scene name or the project name, and of course, you will be able to add some notes that could be very useful for the post-production. Last but not least, you will be able to change very easily all the tracks' names. For example, right now I'm writing the name of the second love and then the third one. Now, you can easily upload the file into your favorite cloud storage service. The files that has got the blue cloud on the right means that they has been uploaded already. And this section of Viviana Cloud application shows you upload speed and status of your transfer. Thanks to Viviana Cloud application, you will be able to check and share all the jobs that has been already uploaded into your favorite cloud storage service. For example, as you can see, you will be able to listen to tracks,
Me li potete togliere voi, per favore? O non siete... Mi chiami qualcuno perché...
check all your metadata as general info, recording info, and notes, and of course, you can share it. We also developed the possibility to easily create a sound report. As you can see, it's going to be very easy and fast to fill all the lines with all the infos that are required. So let me fill just few more infos just to show you, like my name and then my email. Then, once everything is going to be completed, you will be able to export a PDF sound report that, of course, you can share it with everyone who needs. What would you like to be able to do with Viviana Cloud application? Please comment this video with your advice. That's it. Follow us.
Welcome back to our live stream here, Sound Summit, October 2020. Sadly, we won't be joined by Daniele from Viviana Straps. I shouldn't say sadly, though. We're not being joined by him because he's working. He's on set, so I'm wishing him a great day. That was a great presentation. If you guys want to learn more about Viviana Straps, visit vivianacloud.com. And I think that will bring us to our next presentation from DPA Microphones.
Hi there. I have the privilege to show the new 4097 micro shotgun microphone from DPA. I'm saying new, but it's actually not that new. We have had it for a few years, just shaped a little different. Started out being an instrument microphone for extreme high SPL, another instrument microphone for loud SPL, and now this micro shotgun for normal SPL. The differences between the three is, of course, the maximum SPL and the self noise, but more importantly, the sensitivity of the microphone. The higher SPL handling microphone has a 2 millivolt sensitivity. The loud SPL has a 6 millivolt sensitivity, and now the new micro shotgun has the 16 millivolt sensitivity. It has a shorter form factor. The gooseneck is only 5 centimeters long, making it capable of sitting right on the transmitter if that's what you want. Coming from the measuring industry where extreme SPL and extreme conditions was key for us, from measuring sound pressure levels on rocket launches or having consistency microphones that are capable of going on a rover to Mars. We are very, very keen on making microphones that can stand any condition. Every microphone is handmade under a microscope with very, very tight spaces inside the microphones, but room enough for high-end amplifiers. We were known for making fine instrument microphones for the classical industry, for violins, pianos, whatever instrument you wish to put in front of the microphone. So using some of these microphones also as hidden microphones in cars was an obvious choice. I took the microphone here on a spin with a friend of mine and did a kind of a car karaoke thing. We were using only one microphone in the car. It was on his sun visor, placed like you see on the picture here, but it was picking up both of us in the car. So the entire interview is made with only one microphone. You can kind of hear on my voice that it has a little more distant, but it has the same sonic characters. The reason for that is that the microphone has a very even off-axis response. The on-axis response is, of course, linear, totally flat as a good microphone should have. But the exceptional thing with the DPA mics is that it's even the shotgun microphones are also linear off-axis. You see here the frequency response chart and the polar pattern showing exactly what I'm saying here. But listen to the car karaoke thing with me and Antoine driving around Amsterdam and judge for yourself.
Welcome in my car. Whoa.
Thank you.
Welcome in Amsterdam.
Thank you for taking me.
Yeah, you made a new mic.
Yes, we made a new mic.
Can you tell what's inside?
Yeah, I can while you drive.
We're not on a process trailer though.
No,
We're in a real world.
we're real world and you're driving for real.
Yeah.
In here we have the interference tube and the capsule is hidden way behind here.
Is it the core capsule?
Yes, the blue ring here indicates that it is a core amplifier that is inside. So we have that extra dynamic range.
So we can start to shout.
If the rest of the audio chain can handle
Yeah.
shouting and clapping
Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, you did that right here.
Yeah, right
Hitman's
here.
Bodyguard.
Yeah.
You were doing that right here.
Yeah,
right?
we also used omnis and directional mics, but it was tough to hide.
Tell me a little about your struggles with microphones in tight spaces.
We used to have bigger mics with suspensions, foams around it, so it was all getting bulky, heavy, and difficult to rig.
But why not just use Omni mics then?
Sometimes you want the directional option. When somebody points to camera, you want to feel that. When somebody, when there's maybe too much noise around you because there's an open window, or then you want to have the option to choose for a directional mic, because that can save you. Because otherwise, when you're having an omni mic, you have not enough dynamics between your background and your dialogue. So with a directional mic, you have more dynamic range between the background and your voices. I would prefer this also, because you can easily put it straight on a transmitter.
Very nice.
I got one here also. The one we're using all the time.
That's actually live. Yes.
It's on.
It's on. It's focusing now on me, right?
Focusing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, now on me. So it's pretty small, just to hide it quickly.
Obviously, I can understand why you have to be able to hide it, but quickly also.
Well,
Limited time with the actors?
Limited time with the actors, but also limited time in that car, because everybody wants to sit on this chair to see what's happening for that particular scene.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
So then, for me, if my mic placement is less time consuming, I don't have to rig the whole cable down there, you know, to somewhere or outside of the roof and just on the radio.
You would just plant it up
Yeah,
here in the
yeah.
sun visor, and it'll be out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also use a microphone clamp to rig it like this, because a microphone clamp is almost the same size as a plug, because the suspension is already here. So that's also easy. If I buy a mic like this, can I use the other accessories like you made for the instrument mics?
Yes. We have violin clamps. We have a piano mounts with magnets. We have, the clamp mount. Here.
Magnets are also nice for your cars,
Yeah.
maybe, if you can spot some metal, because it's all plastic.
Yeah,
but,
it's all plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. And this one is 90 degree switchable, huh?
Yes, the clamp is. We can turn the rubber part here around very easily. Take it off and put it back in again. So you could put the mic right here on the belt.
Oh, that's a quickie.
That was a quick. Hope you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun doing it. As you saw, the microphone was placed in his sun visor all the time. But I could have used it on any of the instrument clamps that we offer for the instrument microphone series. This is the clamp mount. It's one of my favorite, but it could be the trumpet mount. It could be the piano mount with the magnet inside. Any one of them goes. I just put the microphone, the gooseneck, into the groove here, and I lock it with this locking cap, and it's fixed right there. It could also be the new cold shoe, and on this version here, I have a windjammer on it. If we were outside, I would use, or if the car window was open, I would use a windjammer on top of the interference tube with the foam. Obviously, directional microphones are a little more sensitive to wind and handling noise, so they are always in a shock mount. And if you have wind, you should use some sort of a windjammer on it. That's what I chose to show you here. If you have any questions, I'm sure we will figure out how to answer them. Let's not do that. I will do something like this. Any of the instrument microphone clamps will fit on the micro shotgun. Also, any of the adapters, the microdot adapters that we have here in the background, they will fit on the micro shotgun. You could also connect it to the MMA. It's an interface for your computer or for your iPhone or whatever, Android phone. You can connect up to 2 of the microdot solutions from DPA to this interface. It could be the sub-miniature, it could be the miniature, it could be whatever microdot solution that you have. It's controlled via any iPhone or iOS device, I should say, but you can use it anywhere. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Welcome back to our live stream. We are joined now by Bo from DPA Microphones. Hello, Bo. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say, because you are in Denmark.
I am in Denmark. I'm at the DPA headquarters just north of Copenhagen, and it's, It's 6 o'clock here, p.m., that is.
Beautiful.
So, yes, it's
You have a
it's
nice
afternoon.
night-looking background there. It matches your video quite well.
Oh, thank you.
Well, that was a great presentation.
Yeah, we have
Thank you
this,
so much.
We have this video studio where we do all these new times webinars and trainings, and
Yeah,
so
looks
it's all
great.
set up for that.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. We already have a few questions here, if you don't mind
My
me
pleasure.
just jumping right in. So we have some people asking
no.
about handling noise and the weight of the microphone. What can you tell us about those two things?
Well, obviously, it being a cardioid shotgun microphone, it suffers from handling noise in a different way than Omni microphones, the typical lav mics that we will put in the ceiling of a car, which is why we have shock mounted it. You can, if I take the microphone here, you can see that it has a built-in shock mount, like the instrument microphone that some of you might know. If you're musicians, you might know the instrument microphone. It's exactly the same principle. It's exactly the same interference tube and same type of capsule with the same sensitivity to wind and handling noise. As I said in the video, if you're using it outdoors or with an open window, you would probably use some windjammer wind protection on top of the microphone.
Cool. Yeah, and I can attest to the handling
Without
noise
ruining.
as well. I've used that microphone on my guitar before, and once it's mounted on the instrument, you don't really get a lot of handling noise. It's very, very quiet and sounds beautiful.
Yeah. And the weight, thank you for asking. It's only 10 grams. We're in metric. I don't know what is 10 grams.
Let's see, maybe we can have
answer
someone
that in the
convert that.
chat.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It's very
But
light.
10 grams is so light that if we put it on a transmitter, it will just sit there, and you can use the transmitter as your holder. And with the XLR adapter, the phantom power adapter, if you put that on the microdot connection here, you can even use it on like one of these plug-on transmitters right there. It becomes relatively big, but now you have a good boom mic.
That's very cool.
And with the gooseneck, you can go anywhere. So it works really well.
Lovely. Thank you for showing us all those versatile ways to use that. We have another question from Ken Goodwin. He's asking, is this a cardioid mini
Hi, Ken.
shotgun?
Yes. Well, it's a super cardioid shotgun. Yeah. The term shotgun, super cardioid is kind of floating in the industry, but it's highly directional. Let's put it that way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we have another question from Cat Gut Sound. Ooh, what a cool name. You already addressed this a little bit, but what wind protection options are available for this? Or recommended, I should say.
Well, available and recommended. One of I have this really cool slide here I'd like to share with you. All the accessories available with this is here in the picture, or there are many more accessories available, but one of them is the windjammer from Rycode, and I made this QR code. I hope it works. If it works, it should link you right to the Rycode landing page for that. If it doesn't work, I'll bring up my my email later, and you can write me, and I'll redirect you to it. But it's called 4099 Windjammer because it was actually, back in the days, it was designed for the instrument microphone, and since it's the same mic basically with a different sensitivity, it will fit on that.
Great.
Yeah.
And any links like that, if the QR code doesn't work for someone out there, we can put links in the comment section. We have Joe from Sound Devices who's carefully monitoring the comment section. So thank you, Joe. Awesome. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll. I'm just checking. I think that may have been our last question, Bo. Thank you so much for joining us today. Tusen tack.
That's fantastic. Wow. Selv tack.
Thank you again. It's so nice to see you. Up next, we have a few presentations from Sonosax.
Hello, my name is Roman Dimny and I'm a sound engineer. I work on location as well as in post-production. Jacques from Sonosax asked me to present my setup using the SXR4 Plus. I wanted to have something compact yet powerful, so I could record everything I wanted at any moment. So I wanted it to be portable, light, keeping always all the possibilities. So here is my bag where I fit the main unit and the 88 Plus. I fit also all the wireless receivers in the bag. With this setup, I'm able to have 6 wireless at the same time, keeping analog inputs free for boom or plant mics. Also, I'm able to record the stereo at the same time without any need to change configuration. And I use this one for audio feedback for the director and any member of the crew who needs it. The machine is powered by the internal battery, and I also have an external battery, a bigger one usually, that I put under, and I have access with the bottom opening. The power distribution system is here. I can power the receivers. When the internal battery is down, I can power also the main unit with the second channel of powering. Usually I use this side for the powering and this side for all the booms and the microphones I want to plug. I plug the main booms on the two first inputs and use the two next inputs for a stereo. So on the basic setup, using only this machine, I can have two booms and one stereo. And also the two analog line inputs are plugged on this receiver, so I have already two wireless channels, and I use the AES input here as a digital input for one of those two receivers. And then with the AD8 Plus, I have a lot of possibilities to plug either a second stereo or some other receiver. I use the optional output card as a digital output to feed the audio feedback. And I use the analog output to feed the secondary audio feedback channel, so I can have more range or send a separate mix. And I still have one output that I can use for a different purpose if the situation comes. It makes a rather compact setup with a lot of possibilities. So I use it with this small Zuka cart. Fix it on the top with the Velcro plate, using the buckles on the back. We have then a compact cart with quite a lot of possibility and an easy removing of the machine, so I can take it and use it with the K-Tech harness that allows me to carry it and still have all the possibilities. On my last experiences, the sound occurring in the locations were part of the reason why the places were chosen. So I had to be able to capture that sound identity and restitute it with authenticity. Because the background is in constant evolution, I wanted to have the possibility to record it in stereo to bring more depth to my direct sound and a lot of material for the sound edit.
C'est avec grand plaisir que je me retrouve maintenant chez François Musy, de son studio de post-production. Et ici, on a aussi son appareillage de production. François, ça fait depuis 1985 qu'on se connaît. On se connaît à travers le milieu professionnel et on se connaît aussi d'une manière beaucoup plus amicale. François Musy a fait 198 films entre la prod et post-production et environ 80 films en production. Donc tu travailles normalement avec cette configuration. Est-ce que tu peux peut-être nous expliquer un petit peu?
Ben, c'est pas toi qui le sais pas, on utilise ton matériel, donc ça c'est depuis très longtemps. Oui, le choix de Sonosax, c'est pas seulement parce qu'on est amis, c'est parce que c'est vraiment des très bonnes machines, que ça fait un bon son. Enfin, moi je m'y retrouve en tout cas. Et j'aime bien encore les consoles analogiques comme celle-ci. Comme moi, j'aime beaucoup travailler les acoustiques sur les voix, etc. Je travaille énormément à la perche, essentiellement.
Donc la perche câblée.
Ouais, voilà, perche câblée. Et puis, bon, ça m'arrive de mettre aussi des HF ou de planquer des micros pour aller chercher des sons. Mais voilà, je suis vraiment un partisan de travailler à la perche parce que je trouve que c'est plus intéressant, c'est aussi plus risqué. Hein, voilà.
comme je le dis souvent, il y a maintenant deux écoles. Enfin, je vois avec le peu de contact que j'ai avec les clients et utilisateurs, je vois qu'il y a vraiment deux manières de travailler qui se dessinent. Il y a celle, je dirais, un petit peu à l'ancienne d'avoir une table de mixage et la nouvelle qui est de remplir des pistes.
Oui, mais ça, moi, voilà, c'est pas tellement ma tasse de thé. C'est-à-dire qu'en plus de ça, quand même, il faut être conscient que plus tu ouvres de pistes, plus tu vas augmenter les problèmes. Quand tu mets les HF, tu te dis je vais écouter si j'ai des accrochages dans les HF, donc tu es moins concentré sur ta perche.
Mhm.
Donc voilà, moi c'est pour ça que je préfère quand même de loin le son qui est perché
Perché avec un câble.
avec un câble.
Mhm, mhm.
On n'a pas fait mieux.
Ben, on fera jamais mieux.
Non.
Mais est-ce que le fait de travailler avec une table de mixage permet aussi d'avoir un son plus spontané? C'est peut-être moi un petit peu comme que je vais voir un film. Souvent, je ressens des
Après,
choses.
c'est vraiment un concept de
Mhm.
comment les gens travaillent. Tu
Ouais.
vois. Je dirais, il y a tellement de façons de travailler, tu vois, et qui n'ont pas de. Moi, j'ai aucun jugement. Je pense que c'est trop tard pour que je change ma façon de travailler.
Mhm.
Voilà, moi, je suis quand même très à l'écoute des comédiens parce que c'est ça que je trouve qui est formidable. Et puis, c'est là aussi que passe une grande partie de l'émotion. Donc,
Mhm.
voilà, et c'est
Ça.
vraiment important, quoi.
Justement, on parle d'émotion. Justement, est-ce que le fait peut-être que le fait de travailler plus en direct permet de conserver plus les émotions que si c'est découpé avec 16 pistes et 14 micros.
Après, je te dis, ça dépend tellement comment ils vont s'en servir que,
Mhm.
voilà. Moi, je sais que, et bon, il faut pas non plus, il faut se rappeler qu'aujourd'hui, les temps de post-prod sont de plus en plus serrés. Donc après, plus tu mets de pistes, plus tu prends du temps d'écoute.
C'est ça, ouais.
Donc, et que c'est moins de temps que tu peux te donner à ta façon de travailler. Voilà, si tu fais que de l'écoute. Et, et je pense que, bon, au final, c'est quand même le plus important, c'est ce qu'il y a sur l'écran, quoi.
Ouais, et le son qui va avec.
Et le son qui va avec. Ouais. Voilà, maintenant, je vais quand même faire un petit speech positif sur cette petite machine qui pour moi, a tout changé, parce que c'est vrai que c'est la première fois que j'entends des ambiances sonner comme ça avec la définition, c'est-à-dire qu'on n'a pas de bruit de fond dans les faibles niveaux, donc ça c'est très agréable, donc ça c'est pour plein de choses. Voilà, puis sa dynamique est formidable, c'est petit, c'est léger. Pour une fin de carrière, c'est parfait. J'ai trop porté de trucs lourds. Non, parce que l'air de rien, cette roulante, elle est formidable. Voilà, quand tu es installé sur un décor, etc. Maintenant, tu peux pas faire un décor où tu bouges toute la journée, donc on part à l'épaule, quoi.
Mm.
Et voilà, c'est le même matos, mais voilà. Là, ce qui est pratique, c'est que on a tout dans ce truc-là.
Mhm.
Donc, dans la roulante, j'ai les micros, l'enregistreur, tout ce qui est nécessaire pour un tournage. Et puis, j'ai acheté récemment un petit dernier de chez toi, là, un petit M2D2.
M2D2,
Ouais.
ouais.
C'est très très bien, ça marche super bien.
Alors là, je fais peut-être une petite parenthèse là-dessus. Il y a pas mal de clients qui demandent est-ce que ça sonne comme l'R4 Plus?
Moi, je dis oui.
Oui, d'accord. C'est un peu la même structure, mais pour des raisons de consommation,
Oui.
ça fonctionne un tout petit peu différemment. Mais c'est effectivement
Oui,
la même
bah,
structure.
c'est-à-dire que c'est pas non plus le même emploi. C'est-à-dire que moi, ce que je trouve formidable, c'est un tout petit truc que tu peux avoir dans ton sac à dos, dans lequel, si tu as deux petits micros stéréo, mais tu peux faire une ambiance, mais tu peux aussi t'en servir comme carte son,
Mhm.
et ça, c'est vraiment de bonne qualité, etc. Voilà, je trouve que c'est un bon compromis entre, si tu veux, des machines qui, de toute façon, ne sonneront pas comme ça.
Mm. Mm.
We are back on our live stream. We're joined now by Jacques, who is calling in from Switzerland, and
Hello.
Roman, who's calling in from outside of Paris. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining
Hello.
us.
Okay, Roman, thank you very much to make this video. I saw your setup is very, very compact, and
Yes.
I'm happy to see we contribute to your health condition.
Thank you.
One thing, Roman, and also congratulations, I saw You got also a César of sound for the sound in France in the 2015 for Timbuktu. Timbuktu. Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool. Well,
And François unfortunately cannot join us. He's not good. He's not feel well today. And yeah, that's.
we are sending very warm wishes and hoping he
Okay.
gets well very quickly.
Okay.
He's here in spirit. Thank you both so much for joining us. Do you have any last comments before we move on to our next presentation?
Maybe one more thing. I saw your setup, and maybe you see we will do a new device named RX8. This will include everything you have around you, R4, in only one box. It's maybe something interesting for you in the future.
Yeah, it might be, because it will allow me to have 8 receivers in the size of the RX8. RC8, sorry.
It will be.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us. It was great to see you.
Okay.
Thank you,
to
guys.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. All right, we're moving on to our next presentation from DPA Microphones.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sound Summit 2020. I'm Paul Andrews, Global Support Specialist with DPA Microphones. Today, I'm going to be taking you through some of the very cool aspects of our 4000 series supercardioid capsules, the modularity that they have, and the various preamps that they can be attached to. But first, for those of you who aren't familiar with DPA, we developed a long-term relationship with a testing and measurement microphone company out of Denmark by the name of B&K, or Brüel and Karl. And one of the things that they instilled in us is a philosophy. That philosophy is the microphone needs to have a total linear frequency response in order to have a non-influent result. We want to capture the sound as accurately as it possibly can be. Today, we build some of the finest microphones in the world for everything from film and broadcast to theater, live sound, corporate events, all the way to the recording studio. First up, let's talk about the capsules. What we're looking at here are 2 supercardioid capsules, the 4017 and the 4018. Let's start with the 4017. The 4017 is our shotgun capsule. It weighs in at 2.4 ounces, and that's when it's paired up with the B preamp, which I'll explain later. It has a 60-degree window that creates gentle transitions when you're moving back and forth from talent to talent. It's in a supercardioid pattern that I mentioned before. The frequency response is 20 to 20. It has 138 max SPL handling capability, and the frequency range is plus or minus 2 dB from 70 Hz to 18 kHz. It has a 3 dB soft boost at 15K. Next up is the 4018 capsule. This is also pre-polarized condenser, coming in at 3.8 ounces. It's in a supercardioid pattern that you can see right there. Its frequency response is also 20 to 20, but its max SPL handling capability for this little guy is 142 dB SPL. Its frequency range is plus or minus 2 dB from 40 Hz to 18 kHz. Let's take a look at the comparison with the frequency charts and the polar plots between these 2 capsules. If we take a look at the 4017's frequency response chart, we see the linearity both on and off axis. Here's that 3 dB soft boost at 15K. Now, let's compare this to the 4018's response. You'll notice that its linearity is even more accurate. Its frequency response between 20 and 20 is basically on that 0 line. And you can see that not only on the 0 or on axis, but you can see 30, 60, even 90 degrees off axis, how flat this microphone absolutely remains. I'll go back and I'll compare it with the 4017 again so you can see that. There's the 4017 and there's the 4018. Okay, let's take a look at the 4017's polar pattern. Notice this tight uniform pattern and how the frequency response range, the higher in frequencies you go, the tighter that pattern gets. We'll compare that to the 4018's where it stays a little bit more open for you. You notice even in the 16 kilohertz range how wide open that response is. I'll go back and compare that so you can see. There's the 4017 and there's the 4018. Let's look now at how these capsules can attach to the various preamps that we offer. First off, let's take a look at the MMP-B preamp. This preamp has onboard filtering, the first one being a plus 4 dB boost at 8 kilohertz. The second one being a first order filter below 120 hertz. If I were to take this and pair it up with the 4017 capsule, like I'm doing so now, I've just created the 4017B shotgun microphone. This is the one that comes in and weighs 2.4 ounces, one of the lightest shotguns on the market. The next preamp we'll take a look at is the C preamp. This is a full range preamp, transformer based, and an even smaller footprint than the B. It weighs just a little bit more than the B preamp itself. The third preamp I want to show you is what we call an active cable. There's two specific type of cables in the way they attach. The first one here we call the ES. The S standing for side because it mounts off of the side of the preamp. The ER version mounts off of the rear. This is a really special preamp because you can pair it up obviously with any of our modular capsules, like I'm doing so now with the 4018. Really small form factor right there. The neat thing about this too is we have several different attachments, so whether it be in a simple tabletop format like this, or whether you're putting it onto an adjustable gooseneck, which I'll show you in a minute, this has a lot of flexibility in and around it. One of the other really neat things about the active cable is that it's either terminated to an XLR or a microdot connector. One of my absolute favorite setups for the active cables is placing a 4018 on one of the ES active cables, all attached to an adjustable gooseneck. This gives you the flexibility to position the microphone however you need, all on a really nice tight package, and clearly one of the lightest setups that you can have at the end of your boom. I'll end with some cool behind-the-scenes shots of the filming of Dinner in America with the 4017 and 4018 capsules in action. I hope you've enjoyed this informational video about the 4017 and 4018 capsules and some of the various preamps that they can be attached to. If you have further questions, stick around. We're going to have somebody live via Zoom who should be able to help you out. Thanks.
Hello again, we're back. This time with Paul from DPA, and Paul is joining us from Nashville, Tennessee, Music City. Thanks for tuning in, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've already got a couple questions lined up for you. Are you ready?
You bet. Let's go for it.
All right. So the first question is the 4018 capsule an actual shotgun mic?
Great question. Yeah, so comparing the 4018 here with the 4017, they are both in a supercardioid pattern. The big difference here that you're noticing is the interference tube on the 4017. In my mind, that's what characteristically turns the 4017 into a true shotgun. The 4018 not having that interference tube, but still the same polar pattern. They'll have similar characteristics, but the 4017 is going to be a lot more focused as opposed to the 4018.
Great. Thank you for that information.
You
I'm
bet.
learning new stuff myself here.
There you go.
And our next question, can a microdot connection convert to an XLR?
Yes, it can. So if we're taking a look at the examples from the movie that I put together, with our active cable system, this one is terminating to a microdot connector here. The neat thing about that is we have XLR accessories like this one that then just threads onto the microdot itself. Don't pay any attention to the green tape that I have. That's just so I don't lose my own toys. But yeah, so you can turn that microdot connector into an XLR just like that.
Beautiful. That was so easy and quick. Look at that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, Paul. I think that'll do it for our question segment for DPA microphones.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. Up next, we have a presentation from Sound Devices.
Welcome to the October 2020 Sound Summit. I'm Elizabeth from Sound Devices, and today I'll be taking you through the MixPre 2 series, starting with a general overview for those who aren't as familiar with Sound Devices, discussing our recent firmware updates and plugins, and finishing by touching on remote control via our Wingman companion app. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's jump right in. The MixPre 2 series consists of 3 models, the MixPre 3.2, the MixPre 6.2, and the MixPre 10.2. These audio recorders and USB interfaces have an incredibly small footprint and are also very lightweight, so they're easy to bring wherever your work might take you. All MixPre models feature our custom-made, ultra-low-noise Cashmere microphone preamps. Perhaps the best-known feature of the MixPre 2 series is the ability to record up to a 32-bit float bit depth for an astounding 142 decibels of dynamic range. The combination of the clean Cashmere preamps and the extra headroom from the 32-bit float files means that your audio quality is limited only by the capabilities of your microphone, not your recorder. A 32-bit float bit depth is a useful option in any situation with extreme dynamic range, such as loud explosions, gunshots, occasional whispers, or quiet environmental noise. It also protects you during set-and-forget situations, such as a bag drop, or when you need to control your MixPre remotely. Even if you set your gain levels too low or too high, you can readjust levels in post-production with no loss in audio quality. Each MixPre 2 is an incredibly versatile device. It can be used as a portable recorder by recording to an SD card, and as a USB interface by streaming to a computer over USB-C. There are a plethora of powering options, from USB power to DC power to AA batteries and L-mount batteries. MixPre 2s can both send and receive LTC timecode and receive timecode from DSLRs over HDMI. Sound professionals from all specialties, field audio, sound effects, audio for film, voiceovers, podcasts, and music capture audio on their MixPre 2. There are so many other features I don't have time to mention today, so if you'd like to learn more, head over to sounddevices.com/MixPre. Some folks who are more familiar with Sound Devices may remember our award-winning first generation of MixPre series recorders. The first and second generations share the same clean Cashmere preamps, small footprint, and versatile options for powering and recording. The MixPre 2 series adds to the solid foundation with numerous hardware upgrades. Some features unique to the MixPre 2 series are 32-bit float bit depth, sampling rates up to 192 kHz, internal LTC timecode generation and output, adjustable limiters, and more, depending on your model. One of the great things about the MixPre 2 series is that you can customize and expand your MixPre with plugins. Since the April Sound Summit, we released our newest plugin for the MixPre 2, Noise Assist. Noise Assist is an advanced signal processing algorithm that reduces background noises such as traffic, generators, HVAC noise, and more. Using Noise Assist is easy and fast. Simply choose the amount of background noise to suppress, and Noise Assist will do the rest. Suppression happens in real time with just 1 millisecond of latency. You can run one instance of Noise Assist on any channel, bus L or bus R. Cleaning up your audio with Noise Assist can be useful in many applications. For example, live broadcast and streaming, previews on set, feeds to Video Village, IFB feeds, rough guide mixes, and fast turnaround productions where you don't need to deliver unprocessed audio to post. Let's listen to a few quick examples.
This is a noise assist example using an SM7B. This is a noise assist example using an SM7B.
You can find more information on Noise Assist and a full video on using and installing Noise Assist by visiting our plugin store. Noise Assist is available only for the MixPre 2 series, so if you're a first-generation owner and are thinking of upgrading, there's another reason for you. Another popular plugin for the MixPre 2 series is Mix Assist, an advanced auto mixer that reduces ambient noise and reverberation when mixing and recording with multiple microphones. Previously available only on the 6 series, 7 series, and 8 series mixer recorders, Mix Assist is compatible with both the first generation MixPre series and the MixPre 2 series. Mix Assist comes in handy in multi-microphone applications such as conferences, panels, or any instance where multiple microphones are open at the same time. Let's check out Mix Assist in action.
That was the end of your engineering career.
Are you recording this? High school electronics.
This is good stuff.
This is good stuff.
That was the end of your engineering career.
Are you recording this? High school electronics.
This is good stuff.
This is good stuff.
The Ambisonics plugin introduces ambisonic and binaural recording, playback, and monitoring to the MixPre 6, MixPre 6.2, MixPre 10T, and MixPre 10.2. To use the Ambisonics plugin, you will need any first-order Ambisonics microphone, such as the Sennheiser Ambio. An ambisonic recording uses a multi-capsule microphone to capture a spherical representation of sound. With the Ambisonics plugin, you can record, playback, and monitor in both Ambisonics A format and B format. Select different mic orientations, monitor in both binaural and stereo, and record up to a 192 kHz sample rate. And last but not least, the Musician plugin brings the essence of computer-based music production software to the first generation MixPre series and the MixPre 2 series. Musicians and songwriters can use their MixPre as a portable DAW to create high-quality, multi-layered songs anywhere and anytime the inspiration grabs them. This plugin introduces onboard features like overdub, bounce, punch in and out, reverb, and tracking to a metronome. We love this video by Ollie Loops, which shows how to create a beat using the MixPre 6.2 and the Musician plugin. You can check it out and learn more about the Musician plugin by visiting our plugin store. Since the April Sound Summit, we've released new firmware for the MixPre, version 7.0 and 7.10. If you're a MixPre owner and haven't upgraded yet, we highly recommend taking advantage of the new features available. As always, you can see a full list of changes with each firmware release on our website. I've already mentioned Noise Assist, which became supported in firmware 7.0. We also added more USB keyboard shortcuts in this release. A full list of USB keyboard shortcuts is available in your user guide. You can use a regular USB keyboard for shortcuts or a specialized keyboard such as PI Engineering's X keys for instant control of your MixPre. We all know that this is a very unusual time for the world and for our industry. We've all had to find new ways of working both effectively and safely, and because we need to maintain a safe distance on set, remote control is more important than ever before. Our companion app, Wingman, which is available for free from the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, makes remote control of the MixPre possible. I'm going to be showing you Wingman on a phone because many of us will have an Apple or Android phone that is compatible with Wingman. See the MixPre 2 user guide for instructions on connecting your MixPre and the Wingman app. On the app, I can see timecode, my audio levels, and start and stop recording. Now I'll swipe to display track view. Here I can arm and rename my tracks. You will need to gain stage on your MixPre. Here, the MixPre 2's 32-bit flow is an advantage. If you need to remotely control your MixPre 2 and your gain is set too low or too high, you can readjust those levels in post with no loss in audio quality. On the File List tab, I can edit metadata for my tracks. Then I can export as a CSV and transfer it as I wish using an app like Google Drive or my email. No matter the precautions we need to take at work, the MixPre 2 series will help you capture audio for any application. If you'd like to learn more about the MixPre 2 series, we welcome you to visit us at sounddevices.com/MixPre. Thank you for joining me during this overview, and enjoy the rest of the October 2020 Sound Summit.
Hello, everybody, back again. Just a reminder, if you missed any presentations so far, everything will be on our YouTube channel after this, so make sure and subscribe. We are joined now by Paul from Sound Devices. Hello, Paul. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too, and good morning.
Good morning. And you're calling in from Wisconsin, right?
Of course, can't you tell by the accent?
Lovely Wisconsin accent, I know. Well, we've got some questions for you ready right off the bat. Some great questions here on the MixPre 2 series. Can noise assist be used while recording on standard 24-bit recording? That's a question from Alejandro Reyes.
Yeah, noise assist can be used at 32-bit float or 24-bit, no problem. In fact, many of these algorithms, noise assist, mix assist, 32-bit float, all of these things can be used simultaneously at 32-bit float or 24-bit. So that's a pretty powerful tool. I mean, running mix assist and noise assist at the same time is a very powerful companionship of tools there to minimize, reduce noise and stuff. So, and even, I don't know if any of the people out there are familiar with the remix feature on MixPre. You can use these algorithms during remix too. So that means you've recorded a take and you're playing it back. You can apply mix assist and noise assist on the playback tracks.
Oh, great.
Time. So that means you can remix and get a cleaner sounding recording after the event.
Wow, that's very useful. I'm a new MixPre 2 user, so I'm excited to play around with all these tools. I think it's really gonna up my gear game.
And then on your keyboard just there.
Yeah, it's actually, I had to get it in here, it had to be in the shot somewhere.
It's just a prop.
For now. Our next question is from John Leonard. He's asking, all current A format microphones have their own formula for converting AB format. How does the MixPre work with Rode, Naviton, or Core Sound, for example?
Yeah, that is true. They all have slight differences in their filters and their mass to do the conversion. That's true, but it's subtle differences. We have optimized our A to B format conversion for the Sennheiser Ambio. Our tests have shown that it's pretty effective also with the Rode. I would expect it to be pretty reasonable also with other first order ambisonic mics too. If there's a huge demand for us to be compatible with one particular A format mic, then we could optimize our algorithm accordingly. But so far, it seems to be pretty effective generally across first order ambisonic mics.
Very cool. We have another question from Alejandro Reyes. He's asking, how will noise assist affect sound design editing in post?
Well, I think the general rule with that is that post want to receive clean audio, but it very much depends on the turnaround time. If there's plenty of turnaround time, obviously a sound engineer can play with isotope or what have you to really really dial in the noise reduction perfectly. But in fast turnaround, or if there's no time for post, like especially live event stuff like we're doing now, then noise assist is perfect for that. Generally, I would say if you are recording on set and then you're delivering to post, that you record with, say, one channel with noise assist applied and then one raw. And you can do that with the MixPre. For instance, you could apply your noise assist to the left mix bus and then have your right mix bus be clean. So then you could deliver two mono mixes, one processed and one not processed.
That's great to hear you can do that. That was my first thought, is possibly just assigning it to one channel and not another. But, it's just a great tool to have on set. Like you said, if there's a shorter turnaround time, post wants to receive those clean audio tracks. So it's a great tool on set.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other questions?
I think that's it. You're off the hook now.
God, that was easy.
Thank you so much for joining us, Paul. It was really good to see you.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks.
All right. Up next, we have a presentation from Bubblebee.
Hi, I'd like to introduce you to a new little kit that we've developed. It's called the Production Sound Safety Kit, and it's a collection of items that will really help you to be more efficient and more safe on the set when getting back into the swing of work. So this is the box, that's what it looks like, and here it gives you a brief description of what it includes. So it includes our visor cap, some lav mic pouches, 2 face masks, some accessory tubs, cable binders, which are really cool as well, 4 dispenser bottles, which you can fill with any type of cleaner you like, and some marker pens for marking the items. And yeah, that's also included on the back. So let's have a look at what's inside the Production Sound Safety Kit. Let's open it up. So there you have it. There's the cap, and visor cap is it's got BBI on the front, making sound better embroidered into the back. These press studs on the side, and that allows you to connect the visor over your face to protect you. 2 marker pens, 1 green and 1 black, and these are double-sided, so you've got a thick marker on the one side and you've got a thin marker on the other side. Both the same. Then we have some of the lav mic pouches, and these are the small ones, so they are see-through, so you can see what's inside them. You get the stickers, of course, as well. But yeah, they see through and they seal up very easily to make sure that anything inside is sealed off. So there's 3 of those, and of course you can mark in the notes if you need to mark, for example, talent names, that kind of stuff. And then we've got 4 dispenser bottles, and these come with a flip top, like so. You can unscrew that and fill them up with any type of alcohol cleaner, and they come with a handy carabiner, so that can be clipped onto your belt strap and kept to hand. Also, this white area over here, of course, coupled with the markers, you can mark exactly what's in there. And then inside the larger lav mic pouches, the first one we have all the cable binders. Now these are really cool. There's 5 different lengths. You get 10 cable binders, 2 of each. I'll just pop this out of the way so you can see them. So that's the short one. Then you have a medium one, a long one, and an extra long one. I think I've missed one out in the middle. This guy here. So whatever cables you've got, you can use these to bind your cables, tie kit together. It's actually really useful. We've used these, they're bendable, and you can obviously straighten them again, and they're bendable many times. It's a very strong solution. So we use these as kind of as phone holders, that kind of stuff. You can fashion things to put over your computer screen, anything you can really come up with for these, so they're really cool. In the purest form, you can bind cables very quickly, just like that, and that won't damage the cable because they're coated in a soft rubber, and that'll keep everything together. Those are the cable binders, so you get 10 of those. Then in the larger lav mic pouches, they're designed to fit a whole kit. For example, a transmitter in a belt with mic attached would fit in the larger mic pouch. You could have a whole mic kit for one of your talent, one of the cast inside one lav mic pouch, zip it up, and you can put their name on the notes and you can hand that off to them, and then they can hand it back to you at the end of the day. So that's really useful. Those are the large ones. There's 2 more, so you get 3 of each, 3 small and 3 large. These are the other 2, and they contain some of the other kit. So this one contains our lav accessory tubs, and it's a little plastic sealed screw top tub, and that's we found really useful for storing things like your lav concealers, including with the metal bits and stuff like that. So that's really useful. Keeps them sealed. Squeaks a little bit, and there you go, making sound better. You can also use them for invisible lav covers for outdoor or original, and it means they kept all in one place, and of course for the wind bubbles, just make sure you get the legs in there. And voila. So you get 8 of the accessory tubs. And so then we have the last thing, which is the 2 masks. And these are printed with I love you on the side. So I'll open that up. And these face masks are cotton, 100% cotton, multiply, very soft, and the elastic's very comfortable as well. So you can see the stitching is slightly stretchy, the material is slightly stretchy, and it has I love you printed on the outside, which just spark a nice conversation. And you get 2 of those. And the last of the lav pouches. So that's the production sound safety kit. We hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching.
All right, we are back live, this time with Caleb, who is joining us from Vienna. Thank you for being here, Caleb from Bubblebee.
Hi guys, and thanks for having us.
Well, I want to ask a question about this product. This is really cool. What inspired Bubblebee to focus on this and make this specific product?
So obviously when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of chatter and conversation about how best to go around working safely on sets, so that we could get the industry back into the working spaces as quickly and safely as possible. For us, it was difficult. We really wanted to help out, but it was a difficult thing to separate helping out and prescribing how it should be done, because when you prescribe this is how you should do it, there's many different people all over the world who operate in different ways. Productions operate in such a wide variety of ways nowadays. And we wanted to then put something together that would really help people to work how they feel is best, and to the requirements of their productions, and still offer them tools to make that possible in a more efficient and a safer way. So the production sound safety kit contains a lot of things that can be used in multiple ways, depending on what your productions and your requirements need.
That's great. Yeah, and I've seen those in some shops, and it's a nice little expendable to just pick up while you're there getting other things like batteries or tape or anything like that.
Yeah, totally. That's the idea. And they're also available. The whole package comes as a whole package, as a kit, with a number of each thing inside, including our cap with the visor that's attachable and detachable, but you can also buy them all separately as well. And we try to keep the prices as low as possible, and they're available at all our dealers. So you can go on and find your local supplier at bubblebeeindustries.com/dealers.
Great. And we will put that link below in the comments. Thank you so much, Caleb. Great of you to join us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Up next, we have another Oh, wait, did we have a question? Am I forgetting anything here? Hang on. There we go. Let's see. I think we do have one more question for you. I'm not going to let you go yet. Hold on. We got it coming through the line here. Oh, no, just kidding. I think I just might have a slight delay on my connection here. We are going to move on, and we are going to let you go. You're off the hook officially, Caleb.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you again. All right. Up next, we have a presentation from Shure.
Hey everybody, my name's Jason Waffle, and I'm part of the Shure Pro Audio Market Development team. Big thank you to Sound Devices for including us in this year's Sound Summit virtual trade show event. 2020 has brought a lot of interesting things, but I think it's pretty awesome that we're all getting together to try to talk about some products still and show you guys what we've got going on. So in this video, I'm gonna cover Axient Digital top to bottom. It's a huge family of products. There's a lot of stuff to cover, so get ready to ingest quite a bit of information. So essentially, we're gonna start with what I like to call the Axient Digital core values. And those core values are incredible audio quality and incredibly reliable RF architecture. So the audio fidelity in Axient Digital comes from 20 to 20K frequency response, as well as 120 dB of dynamic range. Essentially, you're gonna clip whatever microphone element you have plugged into your transmitter long before you clip the A to D conversion that takes place. So a very high quality A to D chip, a little bit of secret sauce in there. And then the RF side is a true digital diversity modulation scheme platform. So what you're kind of used to from an analog world in terms of end of range degradation or the wisps and the whooshes and the all of those sounds, none of that exists in Axient Digital. You either have 100% crystal clear audio or a very silent mute. Those are the only two options, and more often than not, you get the 100% crystal clear audio. So we've included some packet loss, some error correction makeup. There's a Q meter that provides the quality of the link versus your traditional RSSI indicator. So from an RF platform and an audio platform at its core, Axient Digital is a fantastic wireless audio product. Moving on, we're going to start with our receivers. We've got two options of receivers available to market right now. There's a dual and a quad rack mount receiver. Both of these receivers have XLR, tip ring sleeve, AES, and Dante built in. They both have a full 4-port switch, so you could have a primary and a secondary for your control, and a primary and a secondary for your Dante, and you can customize how this switch functions. Additionally, these receivers also have a DC powering option. So for those of you that are using a DC powered cart, you can DC power our Axient Digital receivers on your cart. Up next, we're going to talk about transmitters, and this is where the family really gets impressive. There are kind of 3 suites of transmitters, and I'm going to go through all 3 of them. The first one being AD, the second ADX, and the last is our Q5X partnership. So first off, we have the AD1. So anything that is AD has those core values I talked about from an incredibly robust RF infrastructure and great audio quality. What it's missing is the X, and the X is our show link capability, meaning that there's the bi-directional communication. And we're going to touch more on that in a minute, but just so you know, anything that's AD does not have show link. So AD1, the AD2, which is our hand mic without a capsule, and then our recently released plug-on transmitter, the AD3, as you can see here. Pretty cool features about this. The one I love the most is that it's got a USB-C port on the bottom that kind of acts as like its own battery backup. So if you are using one of our rechargeables, the SB900, which is this battery here, and you have it plugged into the USB-C, if you were to unplug from the USB-C, the battery would take over instantly. You basically have like an uninterruptible power supply for your AD3 that you could run off a power bank. So that's the AD family. Next up is ADX. We have the ADX1. You can see the body pack style is a little bit different than the AD1. There's a little bit of different form factor, as well as the ADX1 is a little bit thinner. The biggest difference about ADX is you cannot use AA's. So the whole AD family, you could use AA's or a rechargeable battery that we make. For the ADX portion, we have our own customizable, or custom, rechargeable batteries that we built, and that's to increase your runtime. So you get some better stats in the ADX family as well. Also, you get ShowLink, which is the bidirectional remote control that I spoke of. So ADX1, this is our ADX2, very similar to the AD2. This one's in nickel. We do make it in black, obviously, but there's a little bit of a form factor difference. It's a little bit thinner, but it's hard to tell on this camera. Next up in the line's the ADX1M. This is our micro body pack, super tiny, super thin, super ergonomic, right? So these curved edges that are soft, the polycarbonate design, no external antenna. So the antenna is internal to this body pack, LiMo 3 connector because it's sweat and water resistant. You can see how small this transmitter is if I hold it up next to this ADX1, especially that antenna sticking off at the top there, right? So ADX1M, very hideable, very ergonomic, very small body pack. And then finally, the ADX2FD. FD stands for frequency diversity. Basically, this hand mic has two different radios. It's going to transmit on two different frequencies at the same time. This is a redundant thing. The receiver will automatically select the best frequency for the best audio. So if RF1 took a hit, we would listen to RF2 and there would be no audible change. You can do that with our body packs as well. The difference is you do have to double pack the person. You can do that right now. You double pack people all the time. The difference is you have to either select the track in post, crossfade, or mute at the mixer. In our scenario, the receiver does all of that for you, so it spits out one stream of audio from both packs without you knowing the difference, and it's always selecting the best frequency. So that's frequency diversity mode. Lastly, in the transmitter family, we have our partnership with Q5X or Quantum. Quantum's been around for a while, most of you know who they are, but now they make Axient digital enabled quantum form factors. So here's the player mic. This is the Q5X Axient digital player mic. It's very thin. It's like a rubber kind of super soft material. It also flexes. Pretty cool, right? We see this used in the NBA primarily, some in the NHL, other sports applications. Very thin, very small, very hideable, very comfortable, and very safe for physical activity to wear. So that's the player mic. Last in the Axient digital transmitter lineup is the Aqua mic. This is the aluminum, very rugged housing. It's completely sealed, waterproof transmitter. It's got a 6-pin LiMo connector at the top. That's so you can charge the battery through this port. You can also get audio through this port. So there's no other openings, and that's because it is so waterproof, right? Its own back channel remote control antenna for their version of ShowLink, and then the UHF antenna off the top. So if you were to compare kind of, here's the micro, there's the Aqua mic in terms of size, waterproof, water resistant, and then the player mic is fairly small but still has that antenna on the top. Lastly, in the Axient digital family is the really awesome features that we've built in terms of remote control and smart RF intelligibility. So the ShowLink is your 8610 access point. And so this is a PoE Cat5 powered device that works in Zigbee. Somewhere in the Wi-Fi channels, it will make its own determination of where it needs to live. And this is how we remote control these ADX transmitters in terms of gain, power, frequency, RF mute. Any setting that you can change on an ADX transmitter, you can remotely change via the front of a receiver or the software wireless workbench that we provide you for free. Additionally, the top unit in this rack back here is my Spectrum Manager, and the Spectrum Manager does exactly as it's named. It manages your spectrum. So when you couple a Spectrum Manager with a ShowLink as well as ADX transmitters, you get what is an incredibly self-managed RF ecosystem. The Spectrum Manager's got 8 radios. It searches the space to make sure that the best frequencies inside your venue or your location are the ones you're using. And when it detects interference on a frequency that you are using, it's going to say, hey, there's interference. I've got a place that you can move to. I know it's a good frequency because I've been looking at it for the last 7 hours. And here, just make the switch. And within 60 to 90 milliseconds, your body pack or your hand mic, your transmitter, is going to receive that information over the show link from your spectrum manager, and it's going to change frequencies simultaneously with your receiver, thus avoiding any major RF dropouts or concerns. So the spectrum manager really does that job. It manages your spectrum for you. ShowLink allows you to remote control all of your devices either manually or with a spectrum manager automatically. And then the rest of the family of AD allows you to pick a transmitter for any possible scenario you may need. So that's my really quick Axient Digital rundown. We really hope you'll reach out to us if you have questions, if you need a demo, or if you need any more information about what Shure has to offer. Please get in touch with myself. Sound Devices, Sound Summit, thank you so much for having us. See you guys. Hey everybody, Jason Waffle here again from Shure Pro Audio Market Development Team. Thanks again to Sound Devices for including us here at Sound Summit 2020. In this video, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Twinplex. Twinplex is Shure's most recent top-tier lav offering, designed to attract customers from the theater, live, broadcast, and especially film and TV markets. I'm currently wearing a TL47 right here inside my polo shirt, connected to this ADX1 body pack. And that's talking to this receiver right here, and you're hearing that funneled through. If you saw my Axient Digital video, I was also using this exact same lavalier setup. So a small taste of sound quality for you. We're going to do very little doctoring to this video in terms of sound for that reason alone, so that you can hear the quality of Twinplex in and of itself. So I like to tell people that to remember what Twinplex is all about is just to remember the name, Twinplex. And so we're going to start with the first half, which is Twin. And Twin is a naming nod to the all brand new omnidirectional dual diaphragm element design. So it's an omnidirectional lavalier. There's actually 2 microphone diaphragms that are opposite faced side firing. And what this does is creates a very large surface area in what is a very similar sized lav element for capturing a much more robust sound quality in terms of low end being super robust and a very crisp, clear high end. And you get twice the surface area because there's actually 2 elements inside this little lav capsule. Additionally, it creates an unprecedented off-axis consistency. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you here briefly. I'm going to kind of turn my head a little bit to the left, and we're going to bring my head back to center and then back to the right. If you were a newscaster or you had another element on that was placed center here, kind of in between these pins, you can see the light hits it now, you would notice a bit more of a change than you do with this Twinplex in terms of the off-axis consistency. Additionally, we made sure that it had a very, very low noise floor and a super high max SPL, and it's properly shielded and grounded to deal with digital modulation transmitters like our Axient Digital, so you don't have any hum or buzz with a digital transmitter. So that's the twin portion, right? The dual diaphragm element, so the twin capsules that are inside that one capsule head. The next portion is Plex. And Plex is a nod to our all-new cable design, the Plex cable. And the Plex cable design is took about 5 years, from my understanding, to build. And it's a spiraled, dual redundant, grounded internal wiring. So inside of this cable that's running down my shirt is 2 actually spiraled cables that have dual redundant grounding. Essentially what this means is that you would have to pinch, bend, break, crack, destroy your cable in the same spot twice in the exact same place before your cable would fail. So one bad pinch is not going to fail on your cable. You'd have to do the exact same thing in the exact same spot one more time for that cable to fail. So we did a ton of testing on this in terms of like cable weight machine, where we twisted this cable with a big weight on the end, ran through all of the major competitors on the market, and the Twinplex cable, I don't remember the number specifically, but it was an absurd amount more of flexes on this cable weight machine, just based on the cable design alone. So it's incredibly robust and very durable. Additionally, we made sure that the cable had a couple other features. The first one is that it's got no memory effect. So if you wrap this cable tightly, put it in a case, and you go to take it out, when you unwind it, it's not going to have those circles that you're used to seeing. It's got no memory effect whatsoever, which is incredible. When you go to hide that lav, when you go to place that lav, if you have to do some weird thing where you wrap it around a boom pole for some reason, it's not going to keep that memory, right? Once you take it off of that, it's going to be right back to a very loose, relaxed, flat cable consistency. The entire jacket of the cable, as well as the capsule heads, are paintable. So while we offer them in a lot of colors, which I'm going to get into later, if you need a custom colored lav, you can paint this cable. It's completely paintable. It also is highly resistant to stiffening and cracking and breaking and getting corroded. So it's almost medical grade cable is what we kind of took some notes from in terms of how effective it is at limiting breakage, cracking, dryness. The cable is going to feel new for a very long time. So that's Plex, as in the two redundant grounded cables that go through. So twin, dual diaphragm element, Plex, the dual redundant cables that come inside the very, very robust cable system. Additionally, the entire unit has a super hydrophobic nano coating, is the word that our engineers tell us. Essentially, it's got a lot of water and humidity resistant coating on it, so that sweat and debris are resistant to getting inside the element as well as affecting the cable or the connectors. So that's Twin Plex. The last thing is, it wouldn't be a Shure product if it didn't have an absurd amount of options. So the Twin Plex family has 5 different types of lavaliers. They're all very similar in features, but they have different options in terms of tailored EQ models, one for speech, one for if you're hiding the element underneath your clothing and you need a little bit of a high EQ boost, one that's very flat, just a very flat EQ'd lavalier, a 1.1 millimeter cable or a 1.6 millimeter cable. They come in 4 colors standard: black, tan, cocoa, and white. And they all can be a different sort of pinout. So you can get 3-pin LEMO, you can get TA4F, you can get microdot, you can get unterminated, or you can get an XLR preamp as well. So the microdot option, if you have a TA5, we have a TA5 to microdot connector if you're looking for that type of connection. Oh, and we have a massive accessory package. So you can get an accessory kit that's got tie clip, vampire clip, dual tie clip, liftaways, windscreens, different EQ caps. So if you want to pop the cap off that you bought the lav with and put a flat cap on or put a presence cap on, you can change the EQ a bit with some of these EQ caps that we have in the accessory kit. Stickies where you can mount the lavalier to skin. And then there's also a headset option that I forgot to talk about. So it's got the headset mount and a boom pole that comes down. That's the TH53. So a really awesome new top tier lav offering that sounds incredible, has all the options you could possibly want, and is incredibly durable and reliable. Give TwinPlex a shot. If you need a demo, if you have questions, if you need information, please reach out to myself or anybody with the Shure Pro team. Again, Sound Devices, thank you for having me. Thank you guys for being here. Talk soon. Bye.
Welcome back. Now we are joined by Jason from Shure. Thank you so much for being with us, Jason.
Absolutely, Kim. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
We're mic twins today. I love it.
That we are. SM7B. Fantastic. Yeah. I've seen a few others in this stream today, so happy to see the adoption.
It's a good one. Well, let's see. We have some questions coming through right away for you here. Let's start with one from Ken Goodwin. He's asking, is the cap of the Twinplex removable and paintable or paintable?
It is. Yeah, the entire jacket of the Twinplex, including the cable and the capsule, is paintable. And the cap itself, there's 2 versions. There's the flat cap, which is what comes standard on it, and then there's kind of a high presence boost cap. So that cap can be removed. We just saw Drew Barrymore's talk show. Jenny McCarthy painted a multitude of Twinplexes to match her wardrobe on all these crazy colors, and they work and sound great. Yeah.
Well, that's something to check out. I've been seeing ads for that, but I haven't watched that yet. That's a reason for me to watch it now.
There you go.
All right, another question from Alejandro Reyes. He's asking, is there a microdot version of the Twinplex Lav?
There is. It's the two main lavalier features, which is the 47 and the 48, are microdot available. Yep.
Great. All right.
We have a TA5F adapter as well, if that's your pinout.
Cool. Yep. Okay. So another question from Bernie Beaudry. What's the size of the capsule?
Oh boy. In specific measurements, I'd have to look that up. I don't know off the top of my head. You can find it on our spec sheet.
Oh, great.
I know generally, let's see, is it on here? I don't have it. I don't know exactly. It's a fraction of a size larger than a DPA due to the dual diaphragm elements in there. So
okay.
It's a little bit fatter, but I think the sound quality makes up for that just a bit.
Great. Well, it's good to know. We can look for that on your website probably, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. All right. And we have another question here from Ken Goodwin. He wants me to ask you, Jason, about the different cable thicknesses. Asking what are the differences between the 1.1 millimeter and the 1.6 millimeter?
Really, it's just the size. All the features that you saw in that video in terms of the dual redundant ground and the reliability are exactly the same. It's a little bit more expensive for us to make the much smaller cable. So if you're looking for a thinner cable that hides easier, that would be why that's an option versus not all of them being made that way. But outside of that, the internal structure of them both are exactly the same.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. I think that was all the questions we had for sure. We had a lot of love for the Shure Axient system in our live chat here.
Yeah, and big thanks to Sam in the chat who just came in and said it's a 5 millimeter capsule is the size.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.
Look at all the support we have. I love this community.
Sam's a Shure counterpart of mine in LA. So
oh, great.
Big ups to him. Yeah.
Hello, Sam. All right. Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you, Jason, for joining us from Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for having us.
All right, Jason, we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely.
Up
Take
next,
care, guys.
We have another presentation from Studio Technologies.
Hello, I'm Gordon Capes, president of Studio Technologies. We're located in the Chicago area, and since about 1978, we've been making specialized audio products, and more recently some video products also, but our focus has been on audio products to fit needs that we see in the broadcast, post-production, stadiums, intercom, anywhere that we think our expertise and really our love for designing great products comes into play. I appreciate Sound Devices inviting us to participate in this program of theirs. And you might look at our product line and say, what does that have to do with, location sound or live sound, that Sound Devices is so entrenched and so successful with their great designs? Well, they like the fact that we provide all sorts of edge products, product that can help you achieve what you want for your entire deployment. And what I mean by that is we're not worried about having the main function in an application. We don't do audio consoles. We don't do large matrix intercom systems like the broadcasters would do. But we make a lot of nice interfaces and other things to help people do their job better. And I have to say, our background is pro audio, so if we have an audio output or an audio input, we're really striving to have great audio quality with it. If you went onto our website, you'd see different product groups. You'd see transport of audio and video over fiber optics, our LiveLink products. You'd see video transport for digital video, and those are all important to us. But over the past 2-3 years, we've been focusing on products that use the Dante audio over Ethernet networking protocol. If you know Dante already, hopefully you're a big fan of it. If you don't know Dante, I really think it's something you should look into because it may very well help you to achieve, your goals in your work. Dante uses standard networking to send high quality audio at up to 192K sampling rate. Typically In our world, people are doing 48K, maybe in your world, lots of 96K, and we can support that too. We have well over 20 products in that area, and I thought today I would show you some of our products and give you a feel for what we're doing in our world. We have, for example, 3 different products that are MixPre to Dante interfaces. And they start with our 2-channel model 5205, small box you can see. You connect 2 analog microphones in and 100 megabit Dante with power over Ethernet power network connection. That's all you need. The unit powers up and gives you 2 channels of high performance MixPre. And what I mean by high performance is if you look at the specs and you listen to it, this is not a inexpensive pre, but a serious professional product. You can set the gain using the buttons on the front. You can turn on and off the P48 phantom power, but you can also use our application that we call ST Controller. Right now it's available for Windows, but within the next couple of months we're going to have a Mac version also. So if this was deployed on a set or somewhere where you needed a couple of microphones, obviously you're doing lots of wireless, but if you had some fixed locations that you didn't want to tie up your wireless, this would be a good application for that. You can remotely set the gain, do phantom power, that kind of thing. So that's 2 channels. I'm going over here and I'm going to get out our model 5418. Now this is 8 mic line inputs. You can set the gain on the front panel. There's also a nice monitor section for headphones. On the back, you can do AC mains powering, you can do 12 volt powering, and also it has 8 channels of line level output. Now, what kind of Dante connectivity do you need? You can have a single gigabit Ethernet connection, and that will support all 8 mic line ins and 8 line outs. Now, one of the unique things, and it kind of gives you an idea of what we're about, is this has 3 gigabit interfaces. Pretty unique. A few products have it, not many, but after doing some research and using products ourselves, we realized this is really what serious products need for Dante. 2 of the interfaces can be used for redundant Dante, so you can run 2 independent networks that run professional audio over them. Should one network go out, the other one will take over automatically. Our 3rd port allows maintenance, configuration of the ports, monitoring of our product to be done on a separate network. Broadcast facilities, for example, or big post-production houses want to keep their maintenance separate from their audio transport. So we support that. You might see a USB there. That's how you can update our product using a USB flash drive. It's not used for audio in and out, it's just used for updating. There's also a 4-channel model 5414 that sits between this 2-channel product I showed you and the 8-channel. Now, if someone came to you and said, how do we have a quiet on the set light, or how do we have a unit in the green room where we can do a voice page to them, or have a light that says, come to the set. Things like that, I'm sure, can consume a lot of time. Much easier to deploy 6 channels of wireless than to figure out how to, 1,500 feet away, get a speaker and a light to light up. Well, the Model 391, our Dante alerting unit, we combined everything that we could think of that someone would need to perform that task well. A simple PoE, power over Ethernet connection, fires the unit up. You configure it using our ST controller application, and then you get an analog line out, you get a multicolored display, you get a small audible alert with a level control, and all of this can be configured. So anything from, you can turn the light on steady green if you wanted to say, production is active. It could flash red if it was a warning. Just another tool in your arsenal if someone said, we want to do this. If someone said, can you just give us a couple headphone locations for a producer or director? This is about as easy as you can get. This is our Model 362. Here's the front panel, okay? 2 level controls. And then on the back panel, you have a 1/4 inch and a 3.5 millimeter analog out and a Dante PoE Ethernet connection. Again, it's standard Ethernet. So if you can deploy a network or if there's a network in existence, this gives you 2 channels of audio listen. I should have started that way, but the Model 362 is a 2-channel listen-only belt pack. Very simple to use. Now, if you wanted to deploy a party line intercom, let's say you're in a theater or something and you want to be able to communicate from different locations, obviously wireless is nice, but you might say, we have so much wireless going on, the cost of the wireless intercom system, we don't have it, it's a big deal. You can think about using our digital over Dante, Dante digital party line intercom system. We have 5 different belt packs. This happens to be our smallest one. It's a single channel talk, you have an on-off button, and a second listen. So you could send program or whatever your main audio is to someone, they'd have 1 channel to talk and then a second channel to listen. On the back side, you have a connection to your network, power over Ethernet, a headset connection if you have a professional, but what's unique to us is you also have a 3.5 millimeter TRRS headset, so you can use a consumer style, lower cost, but good quality headset and do a party line intercom deployment very cost effectively. This gives you an idea of what we're doing. We have many, many more products, and we love to talk to people about their applications, see if what we're doing fits in with what you're doing. So I'll be here to answer questions after, but by all means, you're welcome to give us a call, check our website, send an email. Every week we're getting emails from people saying, I want to do this, how do I achieve this? And really our goal is to be able to write you back and say, use this product with this configuration and you'll be able to achieve your goals. So again, we appreciate being part of this event and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thanks, I'm Gordon Capes.
Welcome back to the Sound Summit October 2020 live stream. We are joined now by Gordon. Let's see, hang on one sec, let me play it. We are joined by Gordon from Studio Technologies here. Gordon, thank you for being with us.
Oh, it's great, it's my pleasure.
So Gordon, you're calling us from outside of Chicago, is that correct? That's where your company's located?
Right, we're just outside Chicago in Skokie, Illinois, and just down the road from Shure's main facility. And
beautiful.
So it's fun when you go to the local restaurant, you'll see people from Shure or related companies.
I love that. You have some sound industry neighbors. That's wonderful. We have some questions ready for Studio Technologies here, Gordon. Let's see. Our first question is, did Studio Technologies make the sound devices MD4?
Yes, that's our product. And John and Matt from Sound Devices came to me and they kind of liked what we were doing. And that is one of our products. Since that time, I showed it in the video, we came out with an 8-channel mic line input unit, and that probably would have been the device that Sound Devices really locked into. But yes, that's true.
Great. All right, let's see. We have another question here regarding Dante. Let's see. Is Dante truly, is this question, let's see, we may have a typo here. Let me make sure I'm reading this correctly to you, Gordon. Is Dante truly over standard? Hang on one sec. It's our first hiccup, right? Not a big deal. Is Dante truly functional over standard Ethernet connections?
It is. You don't have to have a separate network. If the facility you're working in or the set has an Ethernet network wired, it will work fine.
Great. All right. I think that'll do it for our questions for you, Gordon from Studio Technologies. Thank you for joining us.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Gordon. All right. Let's see. We're going to keep it moving here. Up next, we have a few presentations from Sony.
Hi, Andy from Sony again. And in this video, I thought I'd take a few minutes to tell you about some of our microphone technology. As I've mentioned before, we have a long history in making microphones. Our first microphones had to support our very first product as a company back in 1950, a reel-to-reel tape recorder, and we built our first microphone. but we have continued to make incredible microphones and legendary microphones in many cases through the years. As a matter of fact, Frank Sinatra came to love our C37 microphone way back when. And we've continued to improve technologies for our microphones through the years. So, since microphones are absolutely so critical to the work that you all do in location sound, I thought you'd at least be interested in hearing about some of our technology, some that apply directly to what you do, and some that I hope you just find interesting. So the first thing, I did want to describe our latest lavalier microphone, as it is very close to the world you live in. It is the world you live in, lavalier microphones. And certainly we all have our favorites and industry standards and things like that. But I wanted you to know about a very unique new lavalier that we've introduced at Sony. It's called an ECM90. And an ECM90 is special because in the world of lavaliers, even though lav manufacturers don't like to talk about it, and you all have to struggle with the issue every time you kind of mount a lavalier on talent or wire up talent, there is cable noise, and you've got to try to find ways of isolating the microphone from the cable as you dress it under talent's clothing so you don't get rubbing noise and things like that. And through the years, various manufacturers have tried different pliability of cables and different coatings and things like that with a bit of success, let's put it that way. But don't ever tell a Sony engineer that he can't solve a problem. They absolutely hate that. So our Sony engineers got to work on this issue in particular and said, you know, one of the things that people are asking for is even smaller and smaller lavaliers. They want these things to be so tiny these days, barely larger than the cables themselves. And they also realize that it's very common that most lavaliers use a round diaphragm in the tip of a round capsule. And if you think that if you make the capsule as small as people want it to be, so then the diaphragm has to get very, very tiny as well. And when you make a round diaphragm that small, you lose frequency response, you lose dynamic range, and the inherent noise goes up. Well, our Sony engineers didn't want to suffer those trade-offs. And they said, well, let's think about this a little bit differently. Who says that we have to use a round diaphragm and the round tip of the capsule? What if we try a different approach? What if we take a large rectangular diaphragm and lay it down the side of the capsule? Now the diaphragm can be so large that it can have a full 20 to 20K frequency response, and it can have very, very low noise and great dynamic range. And while we're at it, let's put one on the other side of the capsule as well. So now we've got double diaphragms for a huge amount of diaphragm space. But the magic happened because there is so much room now down the side of the capsule that we could build really excellent isolation mounting of that diaphragm. If you realize that because you have trade-offs in, you know, having a smaller round diaphragm in the tip of a capsule, if you've got to keep that diaphragm as large as you might want to, you know, not lose so much frequency response and noise, you keep it so large, but then you don't really have any room to do an adequate job of isolating it from the capsule body or from the cable. Well, in our approach, we have lots of room, so we designed a really excellent diaphragm mounting tray that isolates it beautifully and also adds kind of water resistance or perspiration resistance as well. And what we have been able to do is reduce that amount of cable noise that we're so used to fighting against by, I would say, 90 to 95%. I'm wearing two lavs right now, and one of them is an ECM77, which we've had in the line for many, many years. And this is the traditional amount of cable noise that you would get out of this microphone, as well as, I bet, just about most of the lavs that you use currently in the market. This, on the other hand, is our ECM90. Hi, bird. And here, we have cut down the amount of noise dramatically, right? I hope you can hear that. Now, as well, this ECM90 is properly shielded for use with digital transmitters. It can certainly be used with analog transmitters, but digital transmitters need a proper shielding so that the digital transmission noise doesn't get up into the condenser capsules. So that's our ECM90, very, very small, sounds great, and hope you'll get a chance to play with it. Our many location sound dealers in the U.S. all have these microphones, and I hope you will call them up and see if you can play with it, get a demo for it. Now, going maybe a little bit back a year or two, we've introduced a new series of high-end studio microphones, but not just for studio applications, quite honestly. But we are saying that these microphones, we are calling them high-resolution microphones because they have an exceptionally wide frequency response that goes from 20 hertz all the way out to 50K. And that's quite something. Now you can say, oh, I don't hear out that high, but this microphone is so incredibly fast, and it doesn't start rolling off until way, way high up in the frequency range. If you have a mic that says it goes from 20 to 20K, I bet it starts rolling off kind of as it starts approaching those upper frequencies. So you're not really getting the full pop, if you will, out of that microphone. But these mics go all the way out to 50K, and they're very, very fast. In this particular case, in the C100 microphone, it's a dual diaphragm design. There's twin capsules in here, but they're not the same size. One diaphragm is a large diaphragm and covers the frequency range of 20 hertz up to 25K. And then, due to its backplane design, it has a natural roll-off of frequency response, so it doesn't have to go through a crossover network, which could hurt the sound. And then we go to a small diaphragm up above, and that diaphragm, in this case, covers 25K out to 50K. Kind of incredible. And as well, in our pencil microphones, and we offer a kind of a cardioid and an omni microphone, I've had some location sound mixers use our cardioid in boom pole applications and exclaim to me that they have never heard talent sound so incredibly natural, like the way they do in real life. So if you get a chance, I hope you get a chance to play with this microphone. But on the C100, either of these microphones, to tell you the truth, a very interesting thing having to do with the world of sound for cinema is that since these go out so high, you can use them for sound design. You can capture sound effects at high sampling rates and very speed them way down, and they will still have plenty of frequency response and make for a great sound effect. So maybe you got a chance to play with that if that's the business you're in. These are the C100 and the ECM 100U for unidirectional or cardioid, and an ECM 100N for omni. So finally, one more microphone I wanted to let you know of. You may be well familiar with it, but it is an incredibly popular microphone for us and very sought after in the music world. It's called a C800G. And I'm trying to explain to you how crazy our engineers are, and they're never willing to settle for having a problem with something. And back in 1990, when we first started working on the design of this tube microphone, our engineers said, well, let's go buy all the other tube microphones in the market and listen to them and test them. And what they found out almost immediately is their sound changed on a day-to-day basis, largely to do with the temperature of the studio they were in, for example, because the temperature of the tube has a big impact on the sound of the microphone and the noise floor and all those things. So our engineers tested our prototype C800G microphone and found out that if you kept the tube at exactly 13 degrees Celsius or low 50s Fahrenheit, that would yield the absolute best sounding and lowest noise floor that this microphone was capable of. But it's got a hot glowing tube in it. How are you going to keep that tube from straying from 13 degrees Celsius? Yeah, certainly can't dunk this in a bucket of water to keep it cool, and you can't throw an air conditioner blowing cold air on it. That wouldn't work. So our engineers looked for an alternate solution. And what they came up with was kind of incredible. There was a device they found, a semiconductor device, called a Peltier device, P-E-L-T-I-E-R. It's a unique device where one side of the device heats up, like you'd expect a chip to do. But the other side of it literally gets cold. It cools down. And now those are used more commonly in car refrigerators and cooling computer towers and things like that. But back in 90-91, they took the cold side of this Peltier device and they laid it right next to the tube. They even used some thermal kind of grease for conductivity, thermal conductivity. And we could then regulate the temperature of that tube with the cold side of the Peltier device to stay at exactly 13 degrees Celsius and maintain the best spec. But the next thing they did was, I think, even more incredible. You've got to get rid of that heat still. So the unit, the C800G, has a heat sink. But the heat is not going to go from here from the tube area out to the heat sink all by itself. And as a matter of fact, there is a hollow pipe that connects the two. It's closed at both ends, but it is filled with a very specially chosen fluid. Why is specially chosen fluid? Because different fluids have different boiling points. And what happens when you boil a fluid? It turns into a gas. So we chose a fluid that would boil literally at the temperature of the hot glowing tube. And if you keep the microphone horizontally mounted or even with the heat sink slightly elevated, what happens is you create hot gas bubbles that then float up out to the end of the pipe and leave their heat out to the heat sinks. And then those gas bubbles cool off and they condense back into a liquid form and they drain back down the bottom half of the pipe and get ready to go for another round trip all day long, keeping the microphone at exactly 13 degrees Celsius. It is, I believe, the world's first thermoelectrically liquid-cooled condenser tube microphone, the C800G. So I hope you found that interesting. It just shows to what lengths Sony engineers will go to solve common problems that exist in many different kinds of products in the industry. If you'd like more information on any of our microphones, including our shotgun microphones and things like that, please go to sony.com/proaudio. And if you'd like to try our new ECM90 lavalier, go to your location sound dealers and ask for a demo. Anyway, thanks very much for spending the time. Hope you enjoyed this little view into this world of Sony microphones, and stay well. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the Sound Summit live stream. We are joined now by Andy from Sony. Hello, Andy.
Hi there, Kim. Hi there, everybody.
Hello.
How are you?
Thanks for being here. Now, we have another video to play from Sony, but we wanted to take a minute and ask you about this special, it appears, stereo lavalier setup that you have in your video. What can you tell us about that?
Right. Let's put it this way. I just really wanted to clearly show that I had an ECM77 on one side and an ECM90 on the other side. And, you know, I'm editing all this stuff myself as well. So it just sounded a little bit more interesting to me to have them slightly spread. I know it's not, you know, necessarily traditional, but I thought it might make it easier to hear them both at the same time. And if you are listening through headphones, maybe you can detect some differences, but also then to clearly show off the lack of cable noise on the ECM90.
Yeah.
So that was really the reason.
Very cool. You're giving me ideas. I want to try that now.
Oh, great. Right.
All right, let's see. We'll be back with Andy right after another video from Sony.
Hi, Andy from Sony here again. And it's almost fall here in the Northeast. We're about 30 miles north of New York City. It's a little bit windy. You may hear some wind noise coming up, but I decided to go ahead with it anyway. What I'm going to tell you about in this video is our latest 4th generation in our UWP-D series. Now, UWP stands for UHF Wireless Package, and the D in UWP-D stands for DSP, or Digital Signal Processing. You may realize that in many wireless systems on the market that are not true digital, there is companding. Companding is a method by where you take your precious audio at the transmitter, and before you turn it into a baby FM radio station, you compress it. And then you make the radio station, you send it through the air, and at the receiver, you tune it in and you expand it again. And if those compression and expansion methods are built up out of circuitry and circuit design, because there are various tolerances that build up those circuits, you never get a perfect mirror image and you can get audible artifacts. Well, our engineers decided to take DSP and use mathematical algorithms to do that companding scheme. And that's what we do in UWP-D. We hold on to a lot of the sharp transients that occur naturally that might get rounded off or mushed out with kind of traditional companding schemes. Now, the other thing that is important in wireless, as I'm sure you are all well aware, is to prevent dropouts. Perhaps it is the most important thing about wireless. And we've realized at Sony many, many years ago that the absolute best method for doing diversity reception to prevent dropouts is to do a version of diversity called true double tuner diversity. Sometimes you have a single tuner and double antennas. Sometimes you have a single tuner, a single antenna, and the audio cable acts like a second antenna. Well, in our UWP-D family, in this case, we have two independent tuning sections inside of this one little small battery-operated receiver. Each tuner has its own separate antenna, and then there is a comparator circuit whose job it is basically to compare the signal between the A tuner and the B tuner and always offer up the best one. And even if a dropout condition even hints at happening on one of those tuners, the comparator circuit noiselessly switches very, very quickly to the other one, which, because of the wavelengths involved, almost impossible to have a dropout condition on both tuners and antennas at the same time. So we really try to protect the wireless user with dropout-free condition. Now, another thing that can really save you is, and I'm sure you're all well aware, is spectrum. And we've all been wrestling with the FCC spectrum auction over the last couple of years at least. And these little units have a very wide tuning range of 72 megahertz or 12 UHF TV channels. They can tune in up to 2,772 discrete individual channels and 25 kilohertz increments. And that is kind of important depending on where you are. So we offer these units in 3 separate block configurations, if you will. One of our units is available, or one of our packages, or all the components are also available in what we refer to as the 14 block. A 14 block really goes from UHF TV channel 14 all the way up through TV channel 25. That's 12 TV channels. Each one is 6 megahertz wide. That's 72 megahertz of bandwidth. We also have a 25 block version of the same equipment, and that goes from TV channel 25 up through 36. Now, additionally, we have our 90 block. And the 90 block is kind of interesting because it's way up in the 941 to 960 spectrum, where a lot of people have started to go. And I've been working with some location sound mixers in the very, very crowded LA area, LA Basin area, and they are thrilled to have those additional frequencies up in the 941 to 960 range, which are basically kind of much more open and available than down in the traditional UHF frequencies. So that's a nice thing. Now, one of the things you always have to do with wireless mics is find the best and quietest open available channel. And we have historically done that through menu choices. You'd go into the menu on the receiver, you would tell it to scan, and it would scan, and then we'd have little infrared ports, and they would talk to the transmitter, and the transmitter would get its channel information from the receiver. But in the latest 4th generation of UWP-D, we have made that even easier. You don't even need to go into menus anymore. As a matter of fact, what we do is we are taking advantage of NFC pairing, NFC being that little logo that you find on the back of your cell phone that allows you to pair up your cell phone with Bluetooth headphones or a Bluetooth speaker, for example. Well, we use that kind of NFC pairing to communicate between the receiver and the transmitter. And as I said, you don't even have to go into menus to tell this unit to scan anymore. There is a top panel dedicated button that says NFC Sync. You simply hold it down for about 3 seconds. The unit will start scanning in the band it's in or in the block that it's in, and it will then find the quietest available channel. It will flash the OLED screen black, white, letting you know it's ready, and you take this receiver's NFC logo and the transmitter's NFC logo, and you literally put them right next to each other. And they send the information across, and the transmitter will vibrate briefly in your hand because you can't see the displays as they're facing each other. But they're good to go now, and that is makes scanning and pairing exceptionally easy. But we did a very unique thing beyond that that also takes advantage of the NFC pairing. What we've done is, if you realize that the receivers also, besides the main audio output, we've got a headphone jack. So these guys can become personal monitoring devices on set. You can literally clip them to your belt, plug in a pair of headphones, use the plus and minus button to adjust volume as you need to, and Now you may have a pile of these. You may be using them for camera hops, but you may also be using for all the people on set that want to be able to listen in. You could take a transmitter, hang it off of your mixer bag, hang it off of your cart, and you now have one frequency there that you've previously scanned and found was a great frequency, by the way, and you have a pile of receivers that all need to be set to listen to that transmitter. And all you do is you tell those receivers in their menu, go get your frequency information from a transmitter. You pick up the receiver, you hold it up to the transmitter, it vibrates, that one's done. Pick up another one, hold it up, it vibrates, that one's done. And you go through your entire pile of receivers, and they're all now listening to this same transmitter. Hand them out to everybody, and you've got very high quality sound, true double tuner diversity, frequency coordinatable with all of the actors, wireless that's out there, and these can even be, again, up in the 941 to 960 range. So that is a unique capability. Now, at Sony, we also obviously make cameras, and we also make wireless microphones. So our engineering groups got together and said, what could we do that would benefit both the camera world and the audio side of the world? And they came up with a technology called multi-interface shoe, or MI shoe for short. If you realize that a lot of cameras, or most every camera, has a little shoe mount on them, they're generally cold shoes, but we have been for years putting on this multi-interface shoe. It's a very intelligent hot shoe. And they exist starting all the way from our alpha cameras and going all the way up into our FX9 these days. But what you can do is take this little multi-shoe adapter, attach it to the bottom of our receiver, and mount the whole affair right onto the camera. And audio will go right from the receiver down through the MI shoe directly into the camera without the need for external cables or anything like that. Click it on and away you go. As well, you don't even need to have batteries in the receiver, because you can also get your battery power sent from the camera's battery up through the shoe to power the receiver. Now, that's kind of cool. But we've taken that to the next level as well. In our latest generation of cameras, including the FX9, the A7R4, the A7S3, which just got introduced, the Z280, Z190, the Alpha A9 Mark II, they all have a digital MI shoe capability. We've always had analog MI shoe capabilities, but now we've got a little switch on this shoe that says analog or digital. If you use this on one of those cameras I just mentioned, you flip it to digital, and now you can pick the signal off of the receiver while it's inside the DSP and take the digital output, bypass the receiver's final D to A and the camera's additional A to D, and just go directly digital right into the video file of the camera, even improving things a bit there. So we've taken that into consideration. Now, another thing that we have done is on the transmitter, we've added a new capability, because in today's world, we're very green conscious, and there are green architects and green buildings. And what they have many times is occupancy sensors in a lot of the rooms. And those occupancy sensors, if they are of the ultra high frequency type versus an infrared type that's commonly built into some wall switches, the ultra high frequency models will emit either a 32 kilohertz tone or a 40 kilohertz tone, and then when people leave the room, it will turn the lights off and save energy. It's green. However, those very ultra high frequencies can find their way into lavs, and they can have a little impact with the companding scheme and hurt your audio a little bit. So we have simply taken a little piece of the onboard DSP in the transmitter and said, you now be a digital filter that will filter out those upper frequencies. And you can set that to off and low and high, depending on the frequencies that you want to cut off. And that can get you out of a lot of trouble. That's a nice thing. One other feature I wanted to mention, and there are a lot more that we don't have time to go into, is a very clever capability of the receiver. You know how on your TV's remote control at home you've got a channel jump button or a last button, and you can flip back and forth between the last channel you're watching and the current one you're watching, and go back and forth between your two favorite channels? Well, guess what? We have put that into this single channel receiver. So if you first pair up one transmitter, and then you take another transmitter and you pair it up, you now have two frequencies that are in this receiver, in the channel memory. You go to the channel memory menu, and now by simply hitting the plus button or the minus button, either one repeatedly, it will alternate between those two frequencies. You can go back and forth between the two different transmitters. That may help out in certain situations. As well, on our transmitters, including our plug-on transmitter, which is also very much smaller in this latest generation, it has phantom power, by the way, to power up condenser microphones and shotguns or stick mics for news kind of thing. But both the body pack and the plug-on transmitter have mic and line level switching, so they will switch appropriately for those. Now finally, just to give you a sense, we also have a model called a URX-P03D, and this guy is a true two-channel portable receiver and not very much bigger than the single channel model. You can tune in two completely independent channels, and what's also kind of nice is that at the bottom of each channel's menu there is a little built-in mixer control, so you can take that one receiver channel and send it out output 1 or output 2 or both output 1 and 2 simultaneously. And we also have a dedicated two-channel multi-interface shoe, and you can direct those out as well. And of course we give you cables to leave with the mini jacks and go out to a stereo mini or double minis to XLRs, and that all comes in the package. However, in addition to being able to take both channel 1 and channel 2 and either hard left, hard right, or monoize it down the middle, we have a completely unique feature and input on this receiver, which is a microphone input on the receiver. So at the camera position or at the bag position or wherever, you can put in another microphone. That can be a mono microphone, and it can even be a little stereo ambient microphone, for example, or another pair of inputs. And those can be mixed in with your two wireless channels, and they can be mapped hard left, hard right. They can be level matched and all that kind of stuff. You can get very creative with that, and that's kind of cool. So I think that is a pretty good overview of our UWP-D 4th generation family. Again, as I said, there's lots more capabilities in this stuff that we haven't really gone into. But if you would like more information on any of these products, simply go to sony.com/proaudio. And I do thank you for watching. Certainly go visit your favorite location sound dealer and ask for a demo of this UWP-D series. I think you'll be very impressed with it, and especially at the price point. So thanks for watching, and stay safe out there, everybody. Bye-bye.
Joining us now is Andy from Sony. Andy joins us from New York State. Welcome, Andy.
Hey there. Hey, Kim. Hey, everybody.
Thanks for being here. We have some questions right off the bat for those two great videos we just showed. A question on the first presentation, actually. How long ago did you invent the dual diaphragm design?
Oh, really good question. Well, the ECM90 is our newest version of a dual diaphragm design, but maybe about 8 or 10 years ago, we introduced the dual diaphragm design in a model called an ECM88. But with so many true digital wireless transmitters showing up now, we wanted to have a version of it that was properly shielded for use with digital. So an ECM90 is effectively the exact same design as an ECM88, but properly shielded for use with digital. And, you know, you may not have heard about the ECM88 because, unfortunately, Sony being such a huge, huge company, we just don't have, you know, always marketing ability on every single product we make. But it has been out. It was kind of a revolutionary microphone in the ECM88. And now we do have the ECM90. So
very cool. Thank you so much for clarifying, Andy.
Sure.
We have another question from Alejandro Reyes. We have two questions from him, actually. The first being, are the UWP-D receivers a dual system?
Good question. So we have the current single channel UWP-D receiver. It's called the URX P40. And the R stands for receiver and P stands for portable because it's also battery operable. But that, as I said, has dual tuners and dual antennas. So it's true double tuner diversity in this little package. This model, called the URX P03D, has two complete independently tunable channels. So this model is the true dual channel version. and they're, completely independent channels. You can tune them separately. And then, of course, we have all those kind of unique capabilities up on the connector, including that extra microphone input and the built-in mixing function that I alluded to in the video.
Yeah, that looks like a really cool system. We have another question from Alejandro. He's asking, what is the range on the 4th generation wireless system?
Another great question. Well, I would have to say that, as manufacturers of wireless, sometimes we all put down a minimum spec. We say, 300 feet. And for years and years, I always just said, 300 feet. But I wanted to do some testing on my own. So I literally, I live on a country road, and I went down to the bottom of my driveway with a transmitter and my cell phone playing music. And I just put it there on a box. And I took my receiver with a pair of headphones plugged into it, and I started walking down the road and listening for my very first dropout. And it was a beautiful day, but it was a curvy road, and there were trees in the way and all that kind of stuff. But when I got to the very first dropout, I was at the very first house I could see. So I went back on Google Earth, which has a ruler tool, and I measured it at a little bit over 1,200 feet. And so the transmitter was on its high power, which was just 30 milliwatts. So it's a lot longer than 30 feet.
Yeah, and I recommend 300, doing that.
I mean 300
right.
feet. Yeah.
And I recommend doing that with any new system you have. Just take a walk. A friend of mine, Eric Ballou from Cannibal Industries here in Los Angeles, he actually did a very nice wireless test where he put an Ursa strap and his transmitter on his dog. And then, just let the dog go.
I love it. I love
that. That's a nice way. If you have a dog, if you have a horse, a cat, why not get them involved?
That's just a great idea.
It's fun.
Yeah,
I'll send you a picture.
I have fish in a fish tank here. That wouldn't really work so well.
I guess you guys have to get a waterproof transmitter going.
Yes, I think I was a golden retriever in a past life or something. So I would really love to do that.
Cool. All right. Let's see. We have one more question here from Bernie Beaudry. He's asking, are there external powering options for the receivers?
There are. First of all, with the receivers, as I mentioned, we have this little affair called a multi-interface shoe. And when you attach the multi-interface shoe directly to the unit, you take the whole thing and you slide it onto the camera. Then the audio goes right down from the receiver, right through the shoe, right into various Sony cameras, and without any wires at all. And then as well, you can even take the batteries off of here, take them out of this little kind of package, and then you can just set the unit to get its powering from the camera's battery up through the shoe and power the unit. But in addition, there is a company called Core SWX, and they make a lot of accessories in the camera world and things like that. And they have built a nice little battery eliminator, which just basically is one of these little packages with some wires coming out, and that could be terminated, I believe, with the D-type power tap or Hiroshi type power. So that means you can hang these transmitters off of a bag if you want, and just power that off of that same battery, and you can do that as well. So
great, a lot of options there. That's wonderful.
Now I forgot to mention though that these are also powerable via USB-C, so you can just use a cell phone charger and power these permanently that way as well.
That is very cool.
Yes,
awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you, Andy, so much for answering all those questions and for joining us live.
Great, thank you very much, and thanks everybody.
It's lovely speaking with you. We're going to move on to our next. Thank you. We're going to move on to our next presentation now from Orca.
Hey everyone, Marcus here with Orca Bags, here to show you all the newest gear we have to show for 2020. Let's get started. Okay, first off in our new line of bags, we have the OR332 and OR334. The 332 is designed to hold the sound devices Scorpio, 888, and 688, whereas the 334 is slightly wider to accommodate for the Scorpio plus some additional accessories. Externally, both bags feature a detachable front wireless pouch which holds up to 6 wireless transmitters and accessories. The 334 holds up to 4 wireless transmission pouches which can be detached, while the 334 holds 2. They both feature an external aluminum frame for rigid support as well as a foam honeycomb support system inside. Every Orca audio bag has easy access to your audio mixer from all 6 sides, including the front, back, sides, underneath, and from on top, for easy cable management and organization purposes. Each bag features handles on each side which can be detached to get out of your way during production. Each bag comes with a top transparent rain cover that you can pull over your mixer so that you can operate while keeping all of your gear safe in any wet environment. Included in the bag is also the Orca special lift system with adjustable height via Velcro and protective foam covering to keep your audio mixer nice and safe. Both the OR332 and 334 are fantastic companions for any professional audio mixer out on the field. Next from Orca, we have a brand new accessory called the OR156 Paddy Arc. Now this here is a special memory foam pad compatible with any Orca camera bag, provides additional comfort and better mixer viewing for any professional field operator. All right, guys, last but not least, we have the OR16 travel bag here. Ideal for onboard travel on any air flight. It features an internal honeycomb system, a padded external pocket to fit up to a 17-inch laptop, external USB support, waterproof zippers, an external tripod strap system on the side, as well as 13 internal dividers for easy organization. Some other cool features on the OR16 are the aluminum handle for luggage traveling, as well as the backpack straps, which can be hidden via this zipper pocket here as well. All right, thanks for checking out all the latest and greatest with Orca Bags. Be sure to check us out on social media. This is Marcus, and I'll see you next time.
We are back with Marcus from Orca Bags, and I just found out that Marcus is my neighbor. We're both in Santa Clarita, California. Welcome, Marcus.
Hey, thanks for having us. We're really excited to be a part of the Sound Summit this year.
The new bag looks great. I was watching the video, and just my favorite shot was when you had it all opened up like a beautiful gift.
I know, it's kind of just like a flower. It just opens up,
Yeah.
right? All the petals come out. But it's very tough, rugged. It's really cool bag, and they all have that same ability to open up just like that. So
That's great. Yeah, to access all the points. That's wonderful. You know, I'm curious, what are some of the most frequently asked questions you guys get about your bags or this bag in particular?
Well, a lot of people want to know, if a bag, how to find the right compatibility for whatever mixer they have. Obviously you can go into the store and kind of guess and figure out, or buy online. It's kind of tough, but with so many different size mixers, there's actually a really easy bag finder on the website on the orcabags.com. It's really slick. You just open it up, you pop in the make and model of whatever mixer you have, and it shows all the compatible bags. So
that's useful.
Yeah, it's very useful, very helpful.
Awesome.
So this one right here specifically is for, like I said in the video, is for the Scorpio for the Scorpio. We also have the 332, which will also hold the Scorpio, the 888, and the 688.
Great.
You can have multiple bags compatible for multiple types of mixers as well.
And are these bags out now in stores?
Yeah, they're all available
wonderful.
now.
All right, go get them.
Yeah, at any dealer of your choice, you can find it there especially.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Marcus, and showing off this beautiful new bag. I think we have another presentation we're going to jump to. Our next presentation is actually from our host, Sound Devices.
Hi there, Paul here from Sound Devices, and welcome to our second online Sound Summit. It's been about 5 months since the last online Sound Summit, and so what I want to talk to you about today is what we've been doing in the last 5 months in terms of improving and developing further our 8 series range of recorder mixers. We've been doing a lot. I'm going to assume a certain level of familiarity with the 8 series, but very quickly, for those who don't know what the 8 series is, it's 3 models of portable mixer recorders. There's the 833, which is an 8-channel 12-track recorder. There's the 888, which is a 16-channel 20-track recorder. And there's the Big Daddy, the Scorpio, which is a 32-channel 36-track recorder. So without further ado, let's get into it. And the first thing I want to talk about, one of my favorite and probably one of the most exciting stories of the last 5 months in regards to the 8 series, and that is the introduction of noise suppression within the 8 series. This is an absolute world's first. There's no other portable recording device on the market which does this sort of functionality. Previously, you have to work with an external bit of hardware to provide noise suppression functionality. So Noise Assist is the name of our algorithm. It's an optional plugin which you can download from our store. Version 7 firmware, which we've recently released, does add a demo mode so you can try before you buy. It's just like a beep every 10 seconds on the audio. If you like the effects of Noise Assist and it sounds good to you, you can go ahead and buy it. But basically, Noise Assist, what does it do? Well, it's suppressing background noise without affecting the dialogue at all. It's way more advanced than a simple gate. A gate will affect, obviously, the voice at all as well. So Noise Assist is a very clever algorithm that's been in the making for a long, long time, and we released it in the last few months. So it's really effective on reducing air conditioning noise, distant traffic noise, generator noise. It can even dampen reverbs, highly reverberant spaces as well. So it works fantastically and it doesn't affect the actual dialogue. So let's actually see how this works. Come in here, I'm going to demonstrate this on the 833 here. So I'm going to come into my menu and we've got this new menu here called Noise Suppression. And here you can enable Noise Assist and choose where to apply it. So you can choose to apply it to channels or your left-right mix buses. You can only have 2 instances at once. So what does that mean? It means you can have maybe 2 channels, or you could have both the L and R bus assisted, or you could have 1 channel and 1 bus, but no more than 2 at a time. Once you've selected your channel, let's just come to my channel 2 screen here. You can scroll to the NA field, NA standing for Noise Assist, and enter that, and then apply the amount of attenuation that you want. So you go from no attenuation, 0 dB, all the way to 20. But like with any processing, if you apply it too heavily, you're going to get artifacts. So typically, you don't really need much more than 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 dBs of attenuation to be effective. I'd now like to talk to you about some other cool processing which we've just added in version 7 as well. And while we're here, I'm just going to go to our compression field here. So yes, we have added compression. You can now have compressors on every channel, each channel having totally individual control of compression parameters. And at the same time, you can have compressors on all your buses as well. So on the Scorpio, you could have 32 different channel compressors running and 10 bus compressors running without any hardship at all. So you've got your compression curve shown there, and then to the left of that, you have your compression attenuation meter. And then below, you have the various parameters which are controllable by the toggle switches just here. So the first toggle switch sets your compressor to be either pre or post fade, or you can turn the compressor off altogether. You then have a threshold control, which can be set anywhere from 0 to -40. Then you have a ratio control, which can be set anywhere from 1.0 to 20 to 1 ratio. You then can adjust the knee between soft and hard, and then you have control over attack and release. And you have all the same parameters for buses as well. So that's available on all 3 models, the 833, 888 and Scorpio. You have limiters, high pass filters, auto mixing, noise assist, compression, EQ. You've got a wide range of capability there. Okay, so I want to talk to you now about another important feature. Now, from day one, we introduced the SD Remote app for Android and iPad, and it's always been an intention to evolve this app as the 8 series evolves, and we have just taken one big step with the version 7 firmware release that came out recently, and I'd like to show you some of these features. So just come over here, and you can see right here SD Remote running on an Android tablet. This happens to be a Samsung S4. It will also run on any iPad as well. You connect SD Remote to your 8 series either wirelessly via Bluetooth or you can connect directly via USB cable to the USB-A port. The iPad only allows Bluetooth wireless connection. It's important to note that the Bluetooth range when you have an antenna on here is pretty amazing. I mean, I've easily got 50, 60 meters and still been able to get good control. So let's have a look at the new features of SD Remote here. I think anyone who's familiar with the app will immediately see one obvious difference is that now we have 16 channel meter views. We still have the 8 channel views, but now we have 16. And this Scorpio running here in this setup also has a meter tab for monitoring channel 17 through 32. What else? We also have channel screen control. So if I select any one of these buttons at the bottom, I can switch between settings for various channels. And in these channel screens, we've got arm control, we have channel naming, we have trim gain control, which is really important, as well as fader control, pan control, muting, and a PFL switch here. So this gives great control. Now, in terms of fader control, if you go back to the main screen, and it's easier to show actually on the 8 channel view, you'll see these little faders. So now I can also mix from SD Remote, which is actually a great tool for if you're mixing a live event in a small venue and you need to walk the venue to check the mix from various parts of the venue. So now you can hook up via Bluetooth and do a walk and adjust your mix. Now, for many applications, you don't want to mix via tablet. You'd rather use like hardware linear fader controller like this, or use the faders on the front panel, in which case you can very simply hide the faders and not have them appear so you can't accidentally adjust them from here. Now, when you are using the soft faders, the faders on SD Remote, and in fact, it doesn't matter with any form of controller and the 8 series, we have this new feature called soft fader pickup, which allows the faders and the trim controls to remain in sync. So for instance, here, you can see the faders move when I'm adjusting controls here. I can adjust faders here and like channel 3 here, and the physical fader on Scorpio won't suddenly change the value until it picks up that last value. As you can see, it's just about to move here. It's just picked it up. So we call that feature soft fader pickup. And that's important because it keeps your faders in sync. And when you're going from one controller to another and you adjust the fader, it's not going to suddenly jump to that new fader's position. It's going to transition smoothly. Okay, so one other feature I'd like to talk about on SD Remote before I leave this is we have a file transfer mode button. So I can now put the Scorpio into file transfer remotely, which is pretty useful, especially in a situation where you're remote controlling your whole setup over IP. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole detail of how you can control this whole setup from anywhere in the world via internet. I've done videos on that before, and it's beyond the scope of this presentation. But I can hook up a device file transfer to the 8 series, and then be able to transfer the files on the drive here remotely to anywhere in the world. Let me actually show you something which is pretty cool. I've got my phone at the moment hooked up via USB-C on the Scorpio to the Lightning port on my phone. And now I'm in file transfer mode. I can go to the Files app. Let's just show you here. And if you look very closely on the screen, hopefully you can see this. Whoops. You can see that the drives 833SD1 and Scorpio SSD, which are the name of the drives actually in Scorpio right now, are appearing in my Files app on my iPhone. There is an equivalent app on Android as well. But the nice thing about this is I can remotely set this to do that. I can then come into my access a drive and then access a folder, and then do all sorts of like cool things like move, delete, copy, duplicate, rename, share, edit files from here. So you can set the device remotely into file transfer mode to enable that connection as well. While on the subject of Scorpio, it should be worth mentioning that we've doubled the channel routing capability of Scorpio. So now what that means is you can route any input source, no matter whether it's a mic, line, AS, USB, Dante, SL source, whatever it is, it can now be routed to channels 17 through 32. So all channels now have access to all sources. On channels 17 and 32, you now also have trim gain and high pass filters. So it really does expand the capability there. Dante channels are now available, all 32 Dante channels are now available to all channels 1 through 32 as well. Now, another cool feature I want to talk about that's been asked for quite some time is cue marks. The ability to mark points of interest during recording or playback so that you can later review them from the 8 series or even review them from a DAW running on a computer. So now we do have cue mark support, and let me just show you that here. So just come back to my main screen here. So when you're recording or during playback, I can use the select plus fast forward shortcut to lay a cue mark, or I could use one of these toggle switches to do that. And actually I've put a shortcut on my favorite toggle here. So if I move my favorite toggle, you can see a Q01 appeared at the very top of the LCD there. So I'm laying cue marks during record quite happily. I've also laid a cue mark delete on my return toggle, like so. Or you can use the select plus rewind shortcut. But you can lay, I think, up to 100 cue marks per take for review later, which is really nice. Now, these cue marks can be reviewed on the 8 series itself, but also within certain DAWs like Reaper or Adobe Audition, and there's others too. So, really useful feature. Now, even if you don't use cue marks, you can use the cue mark jump feature to jump to the very end of a take and then maybe rewind 10, 20, 30 seconds to check the audio at the end of the take. Now that's particularly useful if you're doing long concert recording and you know, you don't want to have to fast forward all the way to the end of that take to be able to review and check the audio quality at the end of the recording. Now you can literally just jump to the very end of the recording, scroll back 10, 20, 30 seconds, hit play. Yeah, sounds fine. I'm assuming the whole recording was okay. So that's cue marks for you. Now, I do want to talk about a feature which I think is going to please a lot of people because it was requested a lot. A lot of people said, especially on the 888, on the 833, but we've also added this functionality to the 888 and Scorpio 2, that they wanted on the 833 a couple of extra knobs for controlling channel 7 and 8 trim and fader gain. And we're going, well, you know, how can you do that? I mean, software is clever and all, but it can't magically make 2 more hardware knobs materialize. But we have done something which effectively achieves the same thing with software. So let me show you that right now. So now I can make the headphone and select encoders become trims and faders for channel 7 and 8. And you've got various ways to program these knobs to do that, and you've got some flexibility. So let me just show you how to do that very quickly. I'm going to go down to my system menu and come in here and go down to my toggle switch action. So I can enable this functionality by programming these toggle switches at the bottom of the LCD. So for instance here on my star, if I activate star, my select encoder is going to become my channel 7 fader control. If I activate star 2, then it's going to become my channel 8 fader control. And you've got all these other various options for programming either trim or fader control on various shortcuts. Check that out. It gives you so much quicker access to channels 7 and 8 on the 833, channels 9 and 10 on the 888, and channels 13 and 14 on the Scorpio. Okay, one sort of last thing I want to talk about, which also expands the control of the 8 series system, gives even more flexibility with the control, is enhanced keyboard shortcuts via a USB keyboard. So now we've added shortcuts to every channel screen and also shortcuts to emulate the toggle switches at the bottom of the LCD. So now we have shortcuts to the select encoder, the headphone encoder, these toggle switches, the menu and the meter buttons, and the PFL switches here. That essentially means that you can control virtually every function of the 8 series from a USB keyboard. That gives a lot of flexibility. In fact, I've been doing this whole demonstration from basically a USB keyboard. Now, it's not just USB keyboards that are supported here, but any device that will emulate a USB keyboard, such as the X keys. Now, we introduced support for the X keys in the last 6.10 firmware release, and these come in all shapes and sizes. Check out their website. They come in short, medium, long, wide, different versions, and basically you get a number of programmable buttons which can be programmed to emulate any USB keyboard command. You can even have them, you can program macros, so multiple serial USB keyboard commands, so you can achieve multiple actions with one button press. But yeah, this just plugs into the USB-A port on a Scorpio or via a hub and gives you that extra control. We also have another USB device here which emulates the USB keyboard. This is the input stick, just here. It's a wireless dongle, Bluetooth dongle, and it emulates a USB keyboard, but this time I can control via an iPhone app. And I'm doing the whole demo using this iPhone app right now, so it makes it super flexible for control. So that's mainly it. I mean, I've scratched the surface. Before I end this presentation, I do want to sort of just go over some of the little things. One that I think many people will be interested in is now we have a shortcut to creating a sound report across all 3 media with just one action, one flick of a switch. So yeah, you can program create sound report on one of the toggle switches or MIDI map it to a button on your controller, and it will create a sound report in the record folder on all 3 media with one action. Saves a lot of time on set. With regard to sound reports, we've also made the file name format of the sound report more descriptive. So now it includes the date and the record folder name. And this is going to make it much easier for post-production to identify what folder they need to work with. We also have, with the scene increment feature, finally implemented skipping the I and the O characters, which we know can cause confusion because they're so similar to the 1 and the 0. And although this sounds really minor, I think I understand why this is important for a lot of people. We now have an option to make your timecode counter on the 8 series LCD be switchable between either big timecode or big absolute time counter display. So enjoy that one. Anyway, that's all from me. Thanks for listening. And I hope to be able to rattle off a whole bunch of other new features at the next online Sound Summit. But then again, it'd be nice to see you all face to face sometime too. Thanks for listening and take care.
We are back live with Paul from Sound Devices. Thank you for joining us, Paul.
Great. It's great to be here for the second time.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into questions, shall we?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So Jesse Bear is asking, does having compression or EQ on tracks write to the ISO tracks as well?
You've got the choice. So you can either apply compression pre-fade or post-fade. When set to pre-fade, obviously, it's going to go to the ISO track. But post-fade is only going to affect the feed into the mix. Now, the nice thing about the 8 series is you could, if you wanted, route a microphone to multiple channels. So you could have an ISO with the compression baked in and a channel with it not baked in, just by routing that microphone to 2 channels.
Cool. All right. Our next question is from SoundSpeed. Can you set up 7 and 8 to be controlled via tablet?
Yeah, you can actually. With the recent version 7 release, we've added like a channel screen control of all the channels. And, 7 and 8 are accessible. You simply touch a little button below the faders, which we've also added to SD Remote. And that brings up a screen. And in there, you've got control over trim gain, fader gain, panning, mute, PFLing, and also track arming, and you can name tracks. So you don't have the full range of channel screen features, but you have access to the key ones.
Great. And now we were talking a little bit before we came back live, and I want to point out that you're using a dynamic microphone, some distance, and it sounds beautifully quiet where you are, but you've got your AC running. So right before our eyes, we have a nice practical application of noise assist. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, this is my typical setup. I'm actually running this mic through MixPre actually at the moment, which is also compatible with noise assist. So this is just my normal conference training setup, podcasting setup, where I have a mic running in my office and the air conditioning is quite off-putting, and it's amazing how effective it works. You only need to apply something like 4, 5, or 6 dB and it works pretty effectively.
Wow. I mean, I must say I can't hear it. That's amazing. I can't wait to try out the plugins with the MixPre. I'm so excited.
Yep. So yeah, available on the 8 series as well.
Awesome.
Is that all we got questions-wise? That was easy.
I think that may be it. Yeah, you got off easy here.
I also covered everything in the video. So
it was a long video. That's right.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for joining us. It was great to see you.
Yeah, and thank you for all your great hosting.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Take care.
Let's see. Up next, we have, I believe this is our last presentation of the day. The time has flown by. I can't believe it. Our next presentation is from Film Devices.
We at Film Devices are creating a complete ecosystem for the Rack and Bag product line for location sound mixing. Film Devices' patent-pending Rack and Bag has evolved location sound kits to a whole new level. No more equipment floating loosely in a bag. Every device is in an accessible, secure location which you configure to your needs. All connections are easy to reach and cable rat nests are eliminated. Our system converts from a shoulder or harness bag to a desk console. The bag has access to all sides of the mixer. Features include an optional built-in power distribution system using Audio Root brand equipment, and our front-loaded slide-in smart battery sled. In addition, the Rack and Bag is expandable to include a second row of wireless devices. The outer nylon bag height is adjustable as well. The Rack and Bag is available in 3 sizes which can accommodate most mixer recorders on the market. Carbon fiber and aluminum construction assures high strength and light weight. All models come with a detachable pouch that has pockets for your transmitters and room for a headset and accessories. The available docking kit allows the Rack and Bag to be mounted to your sound cart with just a few turns of a knob. Options include a swing-out phone holder and a wing kit for the small and medium models. We make an economical harness that fits all our Rack and Bags. It includes a boom pole sling for one-handed operation. Our exclusive smart battery sled can be purchased separately for your existing system. It is available with 4-pin Hyros or TA4F connector. This will work with most existing distro systems. We sell complete distro systems that come in 2 sizes utilizing the Audio Root distros. The package comes with a smart battery sled and 5 cables of your choice. We also sell a large selection of power cables that come in 30, 40, and 50 centimeters. These short lengths are designed to keep rat's nests out of your sound bag. Our dual USB port connects to the distro, great for charging phones or for an LED gooseneck light. Our travel boom pole kit is available in carbon fiber or aluminum. It is just 20 inches closed and extends to 68 inches. It comes with our boom pole holder and a Matthews Studio mini grip head. The total weight of the carbon fiber kit is 1.6 pounds and it fits in your carry-on. The simple sleeve for boom poles is made of 1680 denier ballistic nylon. They come in 4 sizes to fit most boom poles.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you online at filmdevices.com.
We are joined now by Ken from Film Devices. Thank you so much for being here with us, Ken.
It's really great to be here, and I thank Sound Summit for having me. If there are any questions, just go ahead and shoot. I'll be able to answer them.
Yeah, let's give it a check. You know, in the meantime, while we're checking on questions in the chat, what are some questions you often get asked about these products?
We get asked how many different mixer recorders will fit in our system, and just about everyone will fit. We get asked a lot on the rack and bag if it is the same weight or weighs more than a conventional bag, and it doesn't. We've really designed it. We spent a lot of time getting the weight down so that it's no different than any other bag.
Oh, that's very cool. Let's see.
Yeah, and go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
I was going to start the presentation off with some new item we have.
Oh, I'd love that. Let's see what you have there.
Okay. We have a thing called the Simple Sleeve. And the Simple Sleeve comes in 4 sizes. It's made out of 1680 denier ballistic nylon. It is like tough. It's really heavy. It doesn't have any lining or anything. It's really there just to protect your boom pole. And so it's inexpensive. And having 4 sizes allows the end of your boom pole to stick out, so you're not fishing for it. And so it's a really fast way to get your boom pole. It's got a strap on the back.
That even seems like a nice way to just add some extra padding inside of a bigger hard case. You know, put the boom pole in the sleeve first and then put it in the travel case.
Well, that or just to have it, just grab it, sling it.
Yeah, sling it over your shoulder.
Well, your boom pole doesn't get beat up. Boom poles are really sturdy. They don't really need a lot of protection. And this just really keeps them clean and really fast. And the main thing is that it's really inexpensive. I think these will be selling for about $25.
Oh, wow.
So really inexpensive way to get your boom pole protected. And we have all these different sizes. As you can see, we have a K-Tech here, and we just look at that, and you can see that it'll fit a K-Tech just perfectly.
Beautiful.
So it's a really sweet little, inexpensive, but really built robustly. I'm going to take these out and set them here. And this is our boom pole. So what we decided on the market that we want something that is different than everyone else. Everybody makes boom poles. So we went ahead and we decided that there's a market for really short boom poles. And so this one goes from 20 to 68 inches. And we have it in carbon fiber and aluminum. And to complement it, we designed our very own boom pole holder, and we include a Matthews mini grip head with it. So it's a complete kit, and they're selling really nicely on B&H. And so what's nice about it is that it fits into your carry-on, and it folds up really small. And
that is convenient. I travel a lot internationally for work, and that would be wonderful to just throw inside of a suitcase. You know, you often can't do that with a boom pole.
Exactly. It fits in carry-on. And so we designed it to be 20 inches, which just fits just perfectly in a carry-on. And what happened was I was doing a lot of location sound traveling, and almost everything I design comes from my use out in the field. So every time I see an issue, so I'm a filmmaker, a sound person first, and then a designer, which I've been designing all my life. And so I thought, you know, I held out for a long time before I decided to get into designing. And I said, okay, and I just can't resist. I just have to make something better. And so here it is.
Well, it's great. Thank you for showing us. And I like how you have the boom pole holder set up on the little tiny tripod on the table. That's very cool to see it all put together like that.
Yeah. I'm going to move on now to our main product.
All right. And it looks like we do have a couple questions for you, too. So once you get that main product up on the table, let's get some questions going after that, shall we?
All right. Oh, okay.
There we go. All right. So what are we looking at here?
This is a racking bag. It is, what happened was I was on a set with Shark Tank, and I had almost the same configuration we're seeing here, 664 sound devices and 4 lavs, had 4 wireless going. And one of the wires came loose, had a bad connection in my bag. And I went crazy. I mean, you have no idea when you have like 20 people sitting around and you've lost sound. And so after that, I thought, you know what? There's got to be a better way. We should be able to get to all the cables. We should be able to have everything nice and neat and no rat's nest. And and the equipment should be secure.
Yeah.
And so that was the thinking behind this idea. And,
Very cool.
So any other questions?
Let's see. Yeah, we do have a couple questions here. We have another from SoundSpeed. You're active today, SoundSpeed. Thank you for your questions. This person is asking, can you do custom setups to fit half rack units versus typical location gear?
Don't know. What we do is each one of these are assembled is customized. They can be changed later on, but initially people send in the equipment they have and we configure it for their equipment.
Okay, so it is fairly custom.
Yes, it is.
Great.
But it's really easy to change, and I'll show you as we go along. So there are 3 sizes, and with those 3 sizes, it should handle almost any type of mixer out there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start this little presentation. So the first thing we have here on the top is a detachable pouch. Okay, it has D-rings on it, so you can
I have another question I want to throw at you. This might be a good time while you're opening all this up, because this person, Jesse Bear, is asking, what's the weight limits on the rack and bag? So maybe while you're unpacking that, if you could just tell us about that.
Oh, the weight limits of the equipment or the weight limit of the entire thing?
Well, let's get a clarification on that. I don't know. I mean, how do you interpret that question? Maybe the weight limits on the rack and bag? I mean, what can it hold? Is there a limit? It's just as strong as the operator, maybe.
Well, I could stand on this and it wouldn't collapse.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and it's because it's carbon fiber, it's super strong. Right now, we have quite a bit of gear in this particular unit. I would say that you can put anything in this.
Great.
I don't think there's really any weight limits. I think but it just goes to the equipment. I think you could put 100 pounds of equipment in this, but why would you?
Yeah.
So
maybe you're trying to get a workout in. You never know.
Yeah, it could be like.
Yeah, it's a beautiful bag though. Really nice design, and that's such a cool feature. I mean, the fact that you told me you can stand on it, that's a very, very solid skeleton in that bag.
There is a good skeleton. We're going to get to that skeleton. We have a skeleton in that closet.
Oh, wonderful. A strong one.
Now, the pouch that comes with all the units, it'll have a double pull on it. This is just a factory sample. So the one that we had one with all the pulls on it. We sent out our very first unit a few weeks ago.
Oh, so they're brand new.
Yes, it's brand new. It's not even. It will be shipping in about 6 weeks.
Oh, great.
Our first unit went off to Tony Johnson in New Zealand, and he is the sound mixer for The Hobbit. And so he's on another Peter Jackson movie, but he's our first client.
Oh, wonderful. That's a good client. Not bad.
Yeah. So in the bag, you can put accessories. You can fit a set of cans, a set of headphones.
Yep.
What's really cool, I'm going to open this up so you can, I don't know if you can see it well. Let's see, I'm looking at the monitor. It's a little bit hard. Let's see.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. So there's little pockets in there, and those little pockets are all holding the so this size has got 5 pockets in there, and they are holding the transmitters. So you can take, so along with your package, you can have all your transmitters with you.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, just to let all of our viewers know, we have linked your website in the comments. So if anybody's interested in purchasing this bag, finding a dealer that carries this or has any questions even, just go to the website link that we've provided in the comments below. And yeah, this bag seems beautiful, solid. I think we're wrapping up here in a few minutes. Are there any last
No.
words there?
Oh, I need to show the bag.
Well, let's get to the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't cut me short.
We're gonna turn up the exit music on you soon. No.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to go as fast as I can.
Okay.
So this is the handle. The handle is removable. You just press a button and it slides in and out this handle. It's got a.
Great.
Okay. Then we take off the front panel, and now you can see the gear. Okay, the back has a place for putting boom pole on. And what I'm going to do is take the unit out of the shell so you can see how it's made. So we're going to take this out. We're going to unzip it. Okay. Okay.
So it seems like it's fairly quick to get it all open there. That's great.
Yeah.
So you take the soft shell right off.
Yeah. And so now we kick up the kickstand, flip this up, and while this is up, so if you have some other devices you want to put on it, you can start putting you can keep your transmitters here ready to deploy, or you can put all the hops or whatever you need.
Yeah.
And your we designed was a battery sled for smart batteries. And this is the first in the industry. Nobody has this. So when you want to change your battery, you just slide one right in the front.
Beautiful.
Everything's locked down. All your equipment is not going to go anywhere. You can see.
Yeah, that's
so
very
it's not
secure.
like an ordinary bag where things start spilling out. So your equipment is secured. You can operate the bag. You can put it on a harness and you can leave it inside the shell, or you can actually operate this thing without the bag. So you can walk around with this whole thing exposed. All your cables are accessible. So you don't even need a bag anymore. So you can walk on set. If you need to do run and gun,
yeah,
you just put the harness. We sell a harness to go with it. An
Great.
inexpensive harness. We had Audio Route in France has customized their distro systems for us.
Oh, that's cool.
And so we have the whole distro system. But before we do that, this is a docking bracket. So if you have a cart and you want this thing fastened down to your cart, you put this down and it's got a little stainless steel knob here and a few turns of that knob, and the, oops, we'll take that off. And it hooks right on like that, and you can then lock it down to the cart. Okay, and now I'm just going to go quickly over the distro system, and then you can.
Well, I think, sadly, Ken, we may be out of time here. I hate this. I want to know more about the bag, but, I have a question. Do you have a video overview of this, maybe on YouTube, that if someone is interested in getting into the nitty gritty of this bag, they can go find that?
Yes, there's on our website, there are multiple videos.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So in this instance, you can see we have a phone holder in this unit. The doors collapse and you got the wings. And this whole unit can handle probably 8 channels of receivers on a MixPre 10. And this is really a small compact unit.
Very nice.
So.
Well, thank you so much, Ken, for this presentation. I learned a great deal about this bag and its sturdy build. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us here. I'm going to go ahead and bring Karl and John back into the chat while we wrap up here. Guys, are you still there?
Still here.
There you
Switching
are.
our live event here. So.
Thank you so much for coming back in. This has been so much fun. Thanks for bringing me on to this.
Indeed, it was a great day one and excellent participation, and we're looking forward to day two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at all the great technology we saw today, and there's a whole lineup of great stuff coming tomorrow. Wireless and all kinds of audio goodies and location sound goodies. So it's going to be fun.
Great. And it's same time tomorrow, right, guys?
Same time, 10 o'clock Central Time. Right. And we'll have a new link for tomorrow. So the link that is for this particular day will be persistent for this day. So if you want to come back and watch the presentation, it'll be available. And then there's going to be a new link for the live stream for tomorrow, and that'll be published at soundsummit.org. Also, the YouTube channel, youtube.com/thesoundsummit, is also a shortcut to get to the Sound Summit YouTube channel.
Yep, thesoundsummit.org. If you guys have any questions about scheduling or who's presenting tomorrow, you can find it all there.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thanks
you
for having me, and thank you all of you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Kim. Great job.
Thanks. Bye.